In a world dominated by the brilliantly colored upper class, the colorless are relegated to the bottom of society, suffering from prejudice and unfair treatment. And black. That was the color of monsters hated and feared by everyone. But that all changed when one young man accidentally became the only one to awaken it. Not only did he possess a body as hard as steel, one that could shatter the fangs of any monster that bit it, but he also awakened an essence-draining art that could absorb the colors of others. This hard counter skill turned all members of the upper class into his prey. As someone who was originally colorless, the young man named K had to struggle to make a living from a young age. The greater the risk, the greater the reward. All he wanted was to live a peaceful life, but there were those who wanted to steal his precious companion and even get rid of him simply because he was colorless. No one would care if a nobody like him went missing. But little did they know they were shooting themselves in the foot, accidentally awakening a monster capable of destroying the entire world. Deep within a dark cave, K carefully watched the drops of liquid dripping from the rock face. He cried out in excitement, "I found it, ink!" After carefully filling a bottle with the blue solution, K turned to the black cat on his shoulder. "Thanks, Nero. I couldn't have found this without you." As he stepped out into the light, he thought to himself, "If I bring this to them, the exploration team will have to accept me this time." Looking out at the dazzling city in the distance, K was filled with hope. In the city center, the sound of lively chatter filled the air. People gathered in groups, buzzing with excitement. "Let's give a big welcome to our color mixers." The crowd showered the heroes with praise. "Look at those vibrant colors. They're so cool, aren't they?" Another person added enthusiastically. "You bet they are. I heard they took down a giant monster this time." They truly are worthy of their title. Everyone believed that as long as the color mixers were around, the City of Light would always be safe. However, in the Shadow District, reality was far harsher. Suddenly, K was kicked to the ground. He was thrown out of the recruitment office as a voice bellowed, "Get lost!" The menacing guard roared, "How many times do I have to tell you this is no place for your kind? All that effort to find the ink only to be treated like this." Frustrated, K held up the bottle of ink he'd found and shouted, "Why, I brought the ink you wanted. What's the problem? I've already proven my skills, haven't I?" The other man looked impatient. "Ugh, you're so annoying. Do I have to spell it out for you?" He stared directly at K and snarled, "It's because you're one of the colorless." K stood frozen, stung by the insult. "People are born into their roles, but every once in a while some piece of trash like you shows up not knowing their damn place," the guard snarled. "Listen here, you worthless, colorless bastard." Instantly, a blast of crimson pressure sent K flying, causing him to cry out in pain. The people standing in the office doorway looked down on him with contempt, stressing that the title of Explorer is only for the chosen like us. They declared that a weakling like him would never survive in the Blacklands out there. Out there, darkness is so absolute, you can't see a single inch in front of your face. In that eternal night, dangerous monsters are always lurking everywhere. The exploration team prides itself on risking their lives to find resources, and treasures, sacrificing themselves for the future of humanity so they can be hailed as heroes. One of the guards turned to leave. He didn't forget to leave a parting insult. "That's why colorless trash like you could never handle it. Go find a job that's suited for a colorless." He yelled, "Don't ever show your face around us again. Bother us one more time and you're dead." K was insulted and cursed at until the heavy wooden door slammed shut, leaving him all alone. K stood there, stunned by their coldness. When he saw Nero poke his head out from his jacket, worried, K forced a smile to reassure him. "It's okay, Nero. There are lots of other places we can try. I'm used to this." Suddenly his eyes blazed with determination. He told himself, "I'm going to become the greatest color mixer there is. I made a promise after all." K quickly urged Nero to hide back inside his jacket so no one would see him. He walked through the streets, telling himself he would try his luck somewhere else. "I'm not giving up. I have to persevere until the end." From high above, a mysterious man with blue hair was silently observing him. K, completely unaware he was being watched, stopped in the middle of the bustling crowd. He pulled out his notebook to check the next locations on his journey, then crossed off the last names on the list. He sighed in disappointment. This place was a bust, and this one too. Ha! Is today just going to be one dead end after another? After being rejected by every place he went to, he had no other choice but to dejectedly head back to Mary's mechanical workshop. As he stepped through the door, Kay called out wearily, "Mary, I'm back." Mary, who was busy working, greeted him with a bright smile. Kai, hurry up and get inside. What's with that face? Did it not go well again? Kai could only nod in admission. Yeah, something like that. At the same time, Nero the cat peeked out from his jacket, causing Mary to exclaim, "Oh, Nero's here too!" Mary became furious on her friend's behalf. Those people are all blind. You're stronger than any of those average explorers, Kay replied sadly. They don't accept colorless people. There's nothing I can do. Mary was still unconvinced. She insisted, "You're more than capable. You even found something from the Black Lands." But Kay humbly replied, "I only managed to do that because Nero helped me." Exhausted after a day of failures, he hesitantly took out the bottle of blue ink and handed it to her. "Here, you can have this." Mary cheered with delight. "Thanks, I'll pay you a handsome price for it." As she poured the ink into a machine, she complained, "The current ink shortage is a disaster and the prices just keep climbing." Mary emphasized that everyone's entire livelihood depends on ink. Then she suddenly remembered something. She asked Kay seriously, "Have you thought about what I told you the other day?" When she saw Kay still hesitating out of fear, she slammed a flyer down on the table and shouted, "This is a great opportunity!" It was a recruitment notice for an S-rank exploration team. Kay stared at the paper stunned. An S-rank exploration team? I always assumed I'd be rejected, so I never dared to apply. Doubts flooded Kay's mind. Was he really strong enough to survive there? But Mary cut through his thoughts with sincere encouragement. "Kay, this is a great opportunity. Just give it a shot. I heard they value skill. Who knows, they might just recognize your talent." She looked him straight in the eye and reminded him of his burning dream. "You've wanted to become a color mixer ever since you were a kid." A memory of his childhood standing in the rain flashed in his mind. Mary stated firmly, "We'll always support you no matter what you do." Her words made Kay's eyes shine with determination once more. He had been discouraged because no one seemed to value him. But now, hearing his friend's encouraging words, Kay smiled with determination. This was no time to be picky. He gripped the application for the Dawnbreaker squad tightly. He waved goodbye to Mary. "Thanks, Mary. I'll drop by later." Mary smiled and waved back. "Okay, be careful." Walking through a deserted alley, Kay told himself he had to hurry and prepare since the application deadline was approaching. Suddenly, his cat Nero let out a wary growl, leaving Kay confused. "Huh? Nero, what's wrong?" Before he could understand what was happening, a stranger with green hair and cold, sharp eyes appeared. In his hand was a short sword emitting a strange blue light. He swung the sword, creating a powerful slash of wind aimed straight at Kay. Kay's eyes widened in terror. The direct hit sent him flying, and he cried out in pain. Ugh. Kay lay collapsed on the ground, not understanding what was happening as the assassin approached him, sneering, "Oh, a colorless thing managed to survive that. This thing," his accomplice added coldly. "He'll be dead soon enough. No one will even notice if a colorless is gone." Seeing Nero worrying beside him, Kay used his remaining strength to whisper, Nero, run!" They dragged him to a secluded area filled with large pipes where a sign warned, "Ink Waste Disposal Area." Kay slowly regained consciousness with a groan. Ugh. The green-haired man laughed maliciously. "Oh, you're awake! Unlucky for you, it's time to be thrown down there." "Since you're still alive, that is." He dragged Kay to the edge of a pit filled with ink waste. A lethal solution formed when all colors of ink mixed together. He explained that this stuff was extremely dangerous. Anyone who falls in will dissolve without a trace. There's no better place to dispose of a body. In agony, Kay struggled to speak. Who are you?" Knocked unconscious, dragged here to have his body disposed of. Kay roared in outrage. "Why are you attacking me?" The green-haired leader gave a sinister smile and replied, "You know, we were pretty surprised ourselves today. I never expected to find a treasure in the Shadow Street, an intelligent monster that follows a human. It's an extremely rare creature." Desperate Kay called out his little friend's name. "Nero!" He saw Nero sobbing behind the bars of a cage. Using all his strength, he punched the villain's hand. "Give him back!" "You bastard!" But it barely had any effect. The man spoke to Kay with a mocking tone. "Ooh, I'm so scared. A colorless like you can't do a thing no matter how hard you try." He not only insulted Kay, but also eyed Nero greedily. "This thing will fetch a high price on the black market. It's a shame for something so valuable to be kept by a colorless like you." Choked to the point he could barely breathe, Kay bitterly blamed himself. "Damn it, I was too careless." I shouldn't have let my guard down in the Shadow Street. He resentfully realized that he had always been discriminated against and despised, but he couldn't accept them taking Nero his only family. His anger exploded. Kay stared furiously. You bastards! The moment Kay touched his opponent's hand, a strange black aura suddenly appeared. The green-haired man's face changed in terror. What is this? Something's pulling me in. Kay's entire body was covered in a terrifying black shroud, making the man scream in disgust. How gross! He quickly shoved him hard, causing Kay to fall straight into the pit of ink waste. Then he coldly brushed off his hands. Well, that's that job done. Ignoring Nero's heart-wrenching cries, they laughed triumphantly. Heh heh, now we're gonna be rich. Let's hurry to the black market. They turned and left with Nero without a second thought. In the deep darkness of the waste pit, Kay felt himself sinking. His only thought now was that he had to save Nero, but his body was completely paralyzed. He couldn't move it as he wished. He wondered, is this really how it's all going to end, this ridiculously? On the brink of life and death, images of Mary and his memories with Nero flashed before his eyes. No, I still have that promise from back then. In the dark space, a mysterious voice echoed in Kay's mind. Kay, why are you just standing there? What the hell are you doing? Confused, he wondered. Who's there? The voice continued to urge him on. Get up. Do what you can do. Are you really going to end it like this? Don't hesitate, save Nero now. In his subconscious, Kay saw a silhouette inviting him to accept his true power. His eyes suddenly blazed as the voice roared. Take back your color. An explosion of pitch-black energy erupted. A hand reached up forcefully from the bottom of the deep pit. Kay found himself standing in a strange, completely white space. He was stunned, wondering, What just happened? I was in the ink. Looking at his own blackened hands, he tried to search his memory. After that, I can't remember. More importantly, who am I? He was adrift in his thoughts, struggling. Who am I? What do I exist for? Suddenly, Nero's familiar mew echoed, snapping Kay back to reality. He saw the two bastards in the distance carrying Nero's cage. He realized what his only goal was at this moment. Nero, you're there! That's right. I have to save Nero. Instantly, a pitch-black hand from the tree reached out as a giant column of ink erupted from the pit like a tornado, forcing the two terrified assassins to stumble back. What is this? What the hell is going on? They couldn't believe their eyes as all the ink in the pit vanished in an instant. From within the black smoke, a terrifying figure emerged, causing them to tremble in fear. Then something unidentifiable lunged out. The blue-haired man's eyes widened in terror, cold sweat pouring down his face. No. It can't be. Could it be a monster? A giant hand made of shadow shot toward them with terrifying speed. Until the very end, they never understood what hit them. But I suppose what goes around comes around, folks. The scene was a wasteland of ruined buildings thick with smoke and dust. A panicked witness screamed at a police officer. I saw it clearly. A hand, this big, suddenly appeared and turned the whole area into a battlefield. The police officer taking notes replied skeptically, Yes, I'm sure it did, sir. Meanwhile, medical personnel were carrying a gray, lifeless body on a stretcher. Watching nearby, Captain Red spoke up. Lucky there were only 2 victims, huh? The purple-haired girl with him, Eli, added, Yes, both were B-rank Pathfinders. Their reputation wasn't the best. She looked at the colorless corpse, puzzled. I don't understand what could have happened to make them lose all their color. Captain Red mused. That's important. But let's set it aside for now. We're here because of the large monster that appeared in the city. Upon recognizing their identities, the police officer gasped, You're a colorist? For him it was like meeting his idol. He immediately bowed respectfully. It's a true honor to meet you, sir. I'm the officer in charge of this scene. Why would people as busy as you come to the Shadow District? Captain Red replied calmly. Relax. We just received a request to investigate the monster. I'd like to see the scene. Can you lead the way? The officer hurriedly invited them to follow him deeper into the ruined area. Yes, this way, sir. Standing before the ruins, Captain Red observed there really are traces of a monster here. Eli also seemed confused. We've tracked the locations of all the large monsters reported recently, but for one to suddenly appear inside the city, even in the suburbs, is just strange. She added that the creatures typically found in the city like rats and birds are just small species harmless to people. She worried if a new variant has appeared, but Captain Red cut her off. Don't jump to conclusions. Instead, let's figure out how to track this thing. The two figures stood dwarfed by the heavily damaged area where pipes and shattered concrete stretched as far as the eye could see. They couldn't imagine how large a monster would have to be to cause such widespread devastation. Amidst the rubble, Nero's cry broke the silence. Kay slowly regained consciousness, whispering in disbelief, "Nero." He saw his little companion licking his face. Kay quickly sat up and hugged him tightly, asking worriedly, "Nero, are you okay?" Seeing that Nero was unharmed, Kay sighed in relief. Phew, what a relief. But then confusion about what just happened started to set in. What happened? The memory of the confrontation with the assassins came flooding back. He seethed. It was definitely those bastards. Looking at the devastated scene, Kay wondered if they had been engulfed in the ink. Suddenly, he looked down at his hands as a horrifying thought surfaced. Don't tell me it was me! As he was hazily wondering whether it was a dream or reality, he was startled to realize his body had its color back. Color. How is this possible? Not only that, the surroundings sent an even greater chill down his spine. Why is it so dark here? I can't see anything at all. In the oppressive darkness, his only option was to call for his one friend. Nero, help me! Instantly, Nero started spinning and gave off a strange glow. Nero's whole body glowed brilliantly like a lamp illuminating the dark space around them. A horrifying scene appeared before Kay's eyes, countless monsters lurking among the bizarre trees. He realized with a shock where he was. This place? Is this the Black Zone? In the distance, the faint lights of the city twinkled while he stood in the middle of a black forest, a place that only pathfinders of B rank or higher dared to enter. Who brought him here? How was he even surviving in this place? As he scanned his surroundings, his thoughts racing, he suddenly shouted, "Nero, we have to go! Find a way out!" A horde of monsters had already swarmed in to surround them. In the dark, Nero pulsed with light, a constant warning. The light helped Kay narrowly dodge one lethal attack after another. He panted, "Thanks, Nero!" But the darkness around them remained dense, filled with innumerable lurking eyes. Nero became a brilliant streak of light, guiding Kay up the steep cliffs. As he ran, Kay was amazed, wondering about the strange sensation he was feeling. What is this? What is this feeling? He noticed his body felt strangely light. Even though he'd been running non-stop, Kay was still full of energy and didn't feel tired at all. His speed and agility had reached a whole new level. Kay could clearly feel the power surging through his body as he made incredible leaps across the chasm. Suddenly, a giant monster appeared right in front of his face, causing him to freeze. Panicked Kay realized he had no way to escape. "Damn it, I'm going to die!" He squeezed his eyes shut, resigning himself to his fate before death's bite. But he had forgotten that he had leveled up immensely. The monster went to take a chunk out of him, but ended up chomping on his incredibly hard arm. And just like that, its entire set of teeth was gone. "I'm okay. I thought I was seriously hurt." Kay stared intently at his hands and feet and thought in amazement, so this is the power of color. Before he could even celebrate and feel the power in his body, Nero immediately cried out a warning. Kay looked up and was stunned by a giant figure looming over him. Approaching him was a one-eyed monster with long, menacing horns. Kay exclaimed in horror, "A cyclops?" He couldn't help but wonder why a predator that usually appears deep in the dark forest was here. The monster let out a fierce roar, then slammed its hand, shattering the ground and creating a terrifying shockwave. Nero cried out worriedly upon seeing Kay thrown into the rubble. Kay struggled to get back up, but instead of running away, a new feeling rose within him, making him confident for some reason. "I feel like I can beat it." Remembering the years of being scorned for being colorless, Kay's gaze suddenly turned sharp. He affirmed that he now had the color he had always longed for, so things will definitely be different from before. I don't have to run anymore. As courage surged within him, Kay clenched his fists with determination. He concentrated hard to reawaken that mysterious flow of power. Remember that feeling. That feeling! Instantly, a jet-black energy erupted, enveloping his entire body as his eyes blazed with white light. The Cyclops roared, reaching its giant hand down to crush him. He wouldn't be passive in this fight anymore. Kay stomped his foot, launching himself into the air with incredible speed. He poured all his strength into his fist, landing a direct blow on the monster. An earth-shattering explosion of energy erupted, sending the Cyclops' massive body flying and shaking the entire forest region. Amidst the hazy black smoke, Kay's eyes glowed with power. He was stunned to find himself standing before a lush, vibrant green valley. Kay couldn't hide his amazement. He gazed at the brilliant natural scenery, with a small stream flowing through the trees. He wondered shyly, color. As he was enjoying the wonderful scenery, the black aura around him suddenly became chaotic, startling Kay. A pillar of pure white light descended from above into the deep forest. Nero flew around worriedly, seeing Kay. Kay collapsed in the rubble. Looking at his gradually paling hands, Kay panicked. My color! He painfully realized a harsh truth. The more power he used, the more of his color he lost. Kay gritted his teeth, enduring his body's torment. No! At this rate... At the fragile boundary between life and death, a mysterious voice echoed in his mind again. What are you doing? Your food is right in front of you. Hurry up and eat. The voice gestured toward the monster's corpse and continued its temptation. The color is right before your eyes. You don't want to die, do you? It's very simple. Just reach out your hand. Although he was gasping from exhaustion, Kay was swayed by the urging words, not knowing if it was right or wrong. But unable to resist the temptation of the voice whispering in his ear, Kay tremblingly placed his hand on the giant Cyclops' corpse. Instantly, a jet-black energy erupted. It madly devoured the color from the corpse. Witnessing this horrifying scene, Nero could only stand there stunned in amazement. A massive explosion of darkness spread throughout the forest, draining the enemy's life force to replenish Kay. After the absorption was complete, Kay was panting, but he had regained some of his vitality. He let out a sigh of relief. Phew, I'm alive now. At the workshop, Mary was engrossed in her work when the doorbell rang. She looked up with a bright smile to greet them. Ah, welcome. What can I do for you today? Do you have a special request? However, her words were met with only a mysterious silence from a figure completely covered in a black cloak who was slowly stepping inside. A robbery in broad daylight. Noticing the visitor's strange behavior, Mary started to feel uneasy. She asked cautiously, Sir, don't you think you look very suspicious? Seeing the person continue to approach, Mary panicked, grabbed a large wrench and shouted a warning. Stop! Stop right there. If you take one more step, I'll hit you. As the dark figure suddenly closed in, Mary could only squeeze her eyes shut and scream, Ah! But the stranger stopped abruptly and slowly pulled down their hood, revealing a gentle, smiling face. Calm down, Mary, it's me. Realizing his joke had gone too far and terrified his best friend, Kay scratched his head apologetically. Sorry for making you almost not recognize me, haha. Mary froze in astonishment. She stammered, Kay, what happened to your appearance? After hearing Kay recount the whole story, Mary was so angry her whole body trembled. I'm so furious I can't forgive those bastards. She swung the weapon in her hand furiously. They deserve to have their heads smashed in with this hammer. Seeing his friend so worked up, Kay quickly tried to calm her down. It's okay, Mary. I already got my revenge. Only then did Mary manage to calm down. She sighed, looking at the wrench in her hand. You're right. I guess I got a little carried away, huh? She looked at Kay with a concerned gaze. I was worried since I couldn't get in touch with you. I can't believe something like this happened. Anyway, I'm just glad you're safe, Kay replied with a faint smile. Yeah, sorry for making you worry. However, she was worried about Kay, who had survived falling into the ink waste zone. And to think you even gained a color. It's unbelievable. But that black, it's the color of a monster. People are going to look at you with prejudice. Despite Mary's worries, Kay remained resolute. He stated firmly, that's in the past. What's important is that I have a chance to become a color mixer. Kay decided to put everything else aside to focus all his energy on the Dawn Vanguard's entrance exam. He sincerely thanked Mary for helping me get back on time. He then asked, could I borrow some clothes or a spare set? I promise I'll return them later. Although she sighed that this wasn't the first time, Mary still smiled and agreed, but let's just call it an investment in a future color mixer. She excitedly grabbed his hand and pulled him along. Follow me, I happen to have something that'll suit you perfectly. What a thoughtful friend. It seems she had already prepared this for him in advance. Don't you think so? Mary assured him the new outfit would be a perfect fit. Dressed in his new clothes, Kay and Nero headed straight for the exam location, a massive arena. Thousands of people were crowding into the place, the air thick with tension. The surrounding candidates couldn't hide their anxiety. "Whew, this is so tense. Why are there so many people?" Another person reassured themselves. "Don't panic, just stay calm." With competition this fierce, who wouldn't be nervous? They all shared the dream of joining the Dawn Vanguard, an S-rank team with the most impressive record of exploring the Black Lands. Everyone here hoped for a chance to shine and showcase their talent. Known as the Hope of the City of Light, this team brings together the most gifted color mixers. However, Kay's biggest challenge was the lineup of extremely strong candidates gathered here. But the one who captured everyone's attention was Jill. He was considered a shoo-in to pass. Thanks to his terrifying strength, he could single-handedly take down entire hordes of crazed monsters. But Gil was also known for his brutal personality, having been kicked out of his previous team for causing too much trouble. He didn't hesitate to use force to intimidate other candidates right on the spot, making them fearful and lose their focus and will to compete. It was a powerful psychological blow. Amidst the crowd buzzing about the arrival of this dangerous individual, a few candidates tried to act confident to hide their fear. Why be scared? With a little practice, you can beat guys like that. They're all nothing special. A friend with them could only give a wry smile and reply, "What nonsense are you talking about, ha-ha?" Standing in the crowd, Jill heard some challenging and contemptuous whispers and thought to himself, a bunch of ridiculous kids. He felt disappointed, thinking there was no one truly outstanding in the entrance exam for such a prestigious S-rank team. However, his gaze suddenly landed on a girl with long, vibrant blue hair standing silently. Gil immediately identified his target. So it's probably that girl. Ellison, the second daughter of the Sean family, isn't it? He smirked calculatingly upon finding a worthy opponent. Just as the rumors said, she's quite impressive, so it's easy to notice her. While Gil was still curious about the reactions of others, a sudden announcement blared from the speakers throughout the arena. Ahem to all candidates for the Dawn Vanguard entrance exam. It will begin now. The crowd erupted with excitement as a real color mixer stepped onto the stage. It was a man with brilliant golden hair and eyes that radiated powerful authority. The man was revered by the candidates like a god. They couldn't stop murmuring in awe about this hero's legendary achievements in recent large-scale monster hunts. Large-scale monster hunts. The live appearance of a core member made the atmosphere even more tense. Everyone could feel the immense pressure emanating from this S-rank color mixer. S-rank color mixer. Standing before thousands of candidates holding their breath, the golden-haired man began to speak. Welcome, everyone. First, I want to thank all of you who have applied to the Dawn Vanguard. He scanned the crowd and emphasized that whether one's goal was money, power, or fame, none of it mattered. His eyes were sharp as he asserted, "In the end, only skill will help you achieve anything. And we only need the best. The ultimate goal of the Vanguard is to find the strongest warriors to advance into the Black Lands and reclaim territory for humanity." To him, the mediocre had absolutely no place here. He began to explain the rules of the competition. The first test officially begins now. It will be a direct elimination tournament to test the combat abilities and survival skills of an explorer, because in the world outside the city, the weak will certainly meet their death. The golden-haired color mixer declared loudly, "Prove your abilities here. We will select those who pass the first round based on the tournament results. When your number is called, step into the arena immediately." Number 126 was announced. Gil confidently strode onto the stage with an arrogant look. When number 286 was called, the crowd began to buzz. Wow, a heavyweight right from the start. Poor guy. Gil flashed a sinister smile, thinking to himself, how lucky. Finally something interesting. I was getting bored to death earlier. He smugly wondered, now, how should I play with this one? Heh heh. However, upon getting a closer look at opponent number 286, who was completely covered up, Gil suddenly froze. What's with this guy? He sized up the stranger's stance. What an awkward, weak-looking posture. Seeing his opponent still standing motionless like a statue, Gil clicked his tongue. Whatever, it doesn't matter. He slowly drew his sword from its sheath and growled, I've been quiet for long enough. Confident he could easily defeat his opponent, he showed open disdain, shouting that the stage was set and he didn't need to hold back anymore. A brilliant green energy erupted from his sword, shocking the audience. Whoa, what is that, the wind sword? Everyone couldn't help but marvel at his talent at such a young age. How could he already be so skilled with a sword? Truly worthy of the name genius. With eyes blazing with killing intent, he roared a challenge. "Are you ready? Try and block this. If you fail, I'll tear you to shreds!" Geo stomped his foot, shattering the stage floor, then shot forward like a whirlwind. He swung his sword in a divine arc, creating sharp, brilliant green streaks of light, aimed straight at the young man who was standing motionless. Geo closed in on his opponent with terrifying speed, preparing to unleash a brutal finishing blow. Kai threw a powerful direct punch. It caught Geo completely off guard. A shocking explosion erupted, sending the wind sword genius flying back to everyone's astonishment. The crowd fell silent as they saw Geo embedded in the arena wall. It created a deep crater in the arena. That's what you get for always acting so high and mighty and looking down on your opponent. He's getting what he deserves, right, everyone? Geo lay collapsed amidst the rubble. His entire body was bruised after just a single blow. He was indignant, unable to understand why this could have happened to a genius like him. Meanwhile, Kai was also stunned, looking at his own hand and thinking to himself, "Ah, you even startled me. You just suddenly accelerated, causing chaos everywhere." Terrified whispers spread through the stands. "Wait, are my eyes playing tricks on me, Black?" They panicked as they realized the anomaly. But black is the color of monsters. Both Captain Red and Eli were stunned by this unprecedented sight. Eli couldn't believe her eyes. She wondered if a human could even possess that color. And could it be that the power of black was what took down Geo in an instant? They were shocked, no longer sure if they were looking at a human or a monster. Kai stood alone in the middle of the arena, his feet still shrouded in pitch-black smoke. Noticing the strange attitude and eerie silence from everyone, he started to feel confused. Why were they reacting like this? Kai worriedly asked himself if he had done something wrong to make everyone look at him with such wary and discriminating eyes. The competition continued. His opponents came up one after another. In the ring, Kai's opponent backed away in a panic and yelled, "Don't come near me!" He swung his staff, summoning a giant boulder that shot straight forward. But Kai just kept silently advancing. The man screamed in desperation, "I told you not to come any closer!" Why isn't it working? Despite the attack, Kai shot through the rock fragments and unleashed a powerful blow, sending his opponent flying with a pained cry. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena. "The winner is number 286, Kai." He continuously took down his next opponent, swiftly making the referee announce his name over and over to the astonishment of the audience. Watching from above, a blonde-haired color coordinator muttered thoughtfully to himself, "This kid seems promising, doesn't he? He's the most outstanding one in this batch of candidates." After observing for a while, Kai had caught his eye. He determined that Kai was the first person to possess the strange black color and affirmed, "The rumors will spread fast. This is our chance to recruit him first." Then Team Leader Red appeared. The people around him hurriedly bowed. When asked why he was there, Red calmly replied, "Just passing by." Mentioning the previous monster investigation mission, Red sighed and admitted, That. There's been no progress at all. It's a huge headache. Finding that mysterious monster is harder than climbing to the heavens. We're at a dead end." Seeing this, the examiner enthusiastically introduced the new talents. "You can expect good results this time." He emphasized that besides the young lady of the Shawn house, there was another extremely special contestant. The moment he looked down at the arena, Red was stunned and exclaimed, "Black." The examiner smugly continued, I knew you'd notice. He even defeated a top-tier candidate and is showing an overwhelming performance. He believed that with this level of skill, Kai will definitely be accepted." Witnessing the familiar scene, Eli asked the team leader doubtfully, "Team leader, could that kid be?" Red confirmed thoughtfully, Probably. A new color appearing right after that strange incident, and it's far too much of a coincidence." Red thought to himself, "For now, let's just keep watching him." They already held a certain suspicion towards Kai. As for finding the cause, we'll have to wait for an opportunity. Down in the arena, Kai stared at his own hands, unable to hide his excitement from the consecutive victories. He realized this power was truly incredible, and he was confident that becoming a color coordinator was definitely possible. However, he had also failed before, learning his lesson. Kai silently reminded himself, "But I need to be careful. If I overuse this power like last time and suddenly lose my color, I'll be done for." Suddenly, a massive ice explosion erupted right beside him. startling Kai. Stepping out from the frigid smoke was the girl with registration number 17, Eli Shawn. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena. "The winner is number 17, Eli." She stood calmly next to her opponent, who was completely frozen solid. Witnessing that scene, the crowd praised endlessly about the Shawn family's color and the skills befitting a noble lady. Kai also couldn't help but wonder how other people. Could he really defeat an opponent as fearsome as her? As they passed each other, Eli suddenly stopped. She turned to look at Kay with a sharp, cold, probing gaze that left him flustered. "I wonder what this is about. We haven't even crossed paths yet, so why is she looking at me like that?" Eli's blue eyes bored into Kay, full of suspicion. Just then, the blonde-haired judge authoritatively announced the end of the first round, thanking the contestants for their efforts. He then informed them that because they were behind schedule, they would be moving straight to the next test, with no time for a break. The eliminated contestants trudged out of the arena, leaving a tense atmosphere for those who remained. The other participants began to worry. "Oh man, this is tough. Not even a second to breathe. I hope the next test is easier." Just as the judge was about to announce the next event, a voice suddenly cut in. Hold on a moment." Captain Red stepped forward with a cryptic smile and announced, "I will be personally conducting the second test." The appearance of the top-ranked chroma wielder sent a wave of shock and terror through the contestants. Who is that? I don't get what they're trying to test by having a top-tier chroma wielder lead this. To the utter amazement of all the contestants, the chroma wielder Red stepped forward. He is one of the most powerful chroma wielders in the City of Light, famous for reclaiming the Darklands and holding the highest monster extermination record. It's said his destructive power is so terrifying that even his own teammates are reluctant to work with him. The crowd grew anxious. If he was in charge of the test, it's safe to say no one would be able to pass. "This time, we're really screwed." The blonde-haired judge asked nervously, "Are you sure about this?" "The commander will chew you out if he finds out that you've changed the test on your own initiative." Red just smiled nonchalantly. It's fine. I get chewed out every day anyway. So just because you're used to getting yelled at, you think everyone else should be too." He turned to the contestants and declared, "The test is simple." Red's voice dropped to a low growl. "All you have to do is endure." Instantly, an earth-shattering torrent of firepower erupted from his body. A blast of hot air swept over the horrified contestants as Red began to envelop each one in a sphere of fire. As the spheres blazed, he explained to the bewildered crowd, "I'm recreating the environment of a place I've been before. It gets pretty hot." He stressed that the Darklands are filled with harsh environments where humans can barely survive. To Red, however, this test was nothing more than a cozy heater. He looked at the crowd coldly. "Simple, isn't it? All you have to do is endure the heat to pass. But if you can't even handle this, then you never had what it takes to be an explorer in the first place." Just moments into enduring the chroma wielder's cozy heater, the immense heat had contestants screaming. "So hot! And he calls this a cozy heater. Just what kind of hell are the Darklands anyway?" A desperate contestant realized his own abilities couldn't withstand it. "Ugh, it's no use. My own abilities can't block this. All I can do now is try to hold out." Watching from a distance, the blonde-haired judge made a silent assessment. "I heard he's been slacking on his training lately, but his skills haven't declined one bit." Those rumors were clearly an exaggeration. He was astonished by Red's level of control. To be able to envelop so many people with a barrier in the blink of an eye. That's the level you'd expect from someone who's reached the pinnacle. Guess all that praise isn't just hot air. Suddenly, a sharp cracking sound echoed through the sea of crimson flames. A sphere of brilliant blue ice had appeared, radiating a chilling aura. The surrounding contestants could only gasp in astonishment. "What is that?" In the middle of the fiery arena, Eli Cyan had effortlessly shattered the heat barrier with her own ice power. Witnessing this, Captain Red couldn't hide his surprise. "Oh, now this is impressive." He recognized it as the power of the Cyan family, which should be his natural counter, yet she had shattered his barrier instantly. Red silently appraised the girl. It's no exaggeration to call her a true genius. However, he suddenly remembered someone else and wondered, but what about that other kid? Glancing over at Kay, Red saw he was still struggling inside the sphere of fire. He was somehow managing to hold on. "So he can't break it, Hutch. I wasn't expecting much anyway." Red seemed disappointed in Kay. "I thought he had potential, but he's just like all the others." In reality, Kay was on the verge of total panic. I'm finished.
What am I going to do?
Kay realized his mistake. I used up too much of my color in the previous match. If I'd known this was coming, I would have conserved my strength. The situation grew more desperate as Kay felt his power draining away. Damn it! The harder I try to hold on, the faster my color depletes. No. This can't be happening. My color, it's all draining away. He was terrified that if he revealed his colorless state, everyone would look at him differently. He might even be turned into a lab rat. Kay knew he had to do something. I can't just sit here and do nothing. There has to be a way. Isn't there something I can absorb like last time? His gaze suddenly fell upon the energy barrier surrounding him. Something to absorb. Desperation sparked an idea. A daring idea flashed through his mind. Come to think of it, this barrier is made of color energy too. Doesn't that mean I can absorb it? Even though he still didn't fully understand the limits of this ability. But faced with the scorching heat, Kay decided to take the gamble. There's no time to think about it, I just have to try. He reached out and touched the blazing stream of fire directly. An absorption process began immediately as the frantic crimson energy swirled violently into Kay's hand. The surrounding candidates cried out in horror. The scene became chaotic with streaks of red and black light intertwining as Kay stood at the epicenter of the energy explosion. It left everyone stunned. What is this? What the hell is going on? Both Captain Red and the blonde-haired examiner were frozen by the unprecedented sight. After a moment of silent observation, Red broke into an excited smile. Looks like this time we've got a real madman on our hands. Red hadn't expected Kay to give him such a surprise. Kay stood tall in the middle of the arena, his hands ablaze with powerful black and red energy. The entire stadium fell into a breathtaking silence. All eyes were fixed on the young man with candidate number 286. Kay started to feel flustered by the crowd's reaction, breaking into a cold sweat and thinking to himself, this isn't going as planned. Looking around at the stunned faces, he worried internally, damn it, I've drawn way too much attention. For Eli, this exam was incredibly important. Amidst the crowd's astonished whispers about the unprecedented appearance of the color black, she silently made a resolution. I must prove the strength I've trained so hard for the sake of my family's reputation. Looking at Kay, everyone couldn't help but wonder in shock if that was truly a color a human could possess. Though it was just a faint feeling, Eli couldn't suppress the rising unease. Since childhood, she had been taught to always be the best and to never be outdone by anyone. Encountering a formidable opponent like Kay today, she couldn't help but feel the pressure of her family's burden. Eli told herself she couldn't let her older sister down, but she also had to admit that Kay was truly strong. Witnessing his powerful attacks, Eli realized that even if she fought seriously, she wasn't guaranteed to win. She could sense a strange power coming from Kay, something that couldn't be explained by normal logic. Seeing Kay's back shrouded in black smoke, Eli wondered, what on earth is he? But she quickly shook the thought away and encouraged herself. When I fight him later, the result will be different. Just then, Captain Red walked up and casually threw an arm around Kay's shoulder. Red praised him generously. Whoa, was that the power of the color black? That was some incredible power. It devoured everything. He pulled Kay along, filled with curious excitement. I can't contain my curiosity anymore. Tell me more about that black color. We can talk privately to maintain your confidentiality. When Kay anxiously asked about the exam results, Red casually assured him, oh, don't worry about it. At your level, you've already passed. I'll take care of it. Kay was stunned. He never expected to become an adventurer so quickly. Suddenly, the blonde-haired examiner yelled from behind, Hey, what do you think you're doing, Red, you idiot? You're just doing whatever you want again. The exam is still in progress. Red just laughed it off, apologized, and continued to lead Kay away, leaving the examiner speechless with indignation. To continue the test, he had to reluctantly pull himself together as an instructor. The examiner cleared his throat and announced to all the candidates, Ahem, attention, everyone. Due to an unexpected situation, the exam was temporarily interrupted, but it will now resume. He declared, with the exception of candidate number 17 who broke their own barrier, all remaining candidates will have to take a supplementary test. Eli stood silently, her sharp, cold eyes following Kay's back as he disappeared behind a dark cellar door. The heavy door slammed shut, separating him from the bustling arena. Red told Kay to wait by the vehicle and left to take care of some business. Looking at the surrounding ruins, Kay realized with a shock that this was the place where he was once thrown into a vat of waste ink. Red returned pensively, mentioning the horrific incident that had flattened this entire area not long ago. He was deliberately probing Kay to see his reaction to being here. According to witness accounts, a giant creature with pitch-black hands suddenly appeared and destroyed everything. Red looked Kay straight in the eye and pointed out the suspicious coincidence. That you were the first person to possess the color black right after that incident. He assessed that Kay's ability to devour other colors was a power completely alien to this world. Kay broke out in a cold sweat. He realized this captain had seen through everything from the very beginning. The thought of running flashed through Kay's mind, but he quickly understood he could never escape from the grasp of a man celebrated by the entire city as a hero. Seeing how tense Kay was, Red probably had some idea of what he was thinking. Red admitted that while his main mission was to investigate the scene, he was more interested in Kay's ability. He explained that normal colors have their own rules and cannot be mixed, but Kay's power ignored all those complex laws. Based on what happened in the second test, Red stated with certainty, you still can't control your absorption of everything around you. Faced with the senior's sharp observations, Kay could only remain silent, unable to utter a word. He hit the nail right on the head. How could I possibly argue? To learn more about the limits and workings of this power, Red decided to conduct a practical experiment. He held his hand out in front of Kay and ordered him, try to absorb my color. Kay, horrified, refused. He was afraid that his pitch-black energy would be dangerous to him. However, Red just scoffed at the rookie's concern, stating he was too green to worry about someone like him. Red's voice grew serious as he warned that the color black was the symbol of the Blacklands, an evil force that devours all things. He also didn't forget to remind him that letting such a dangerous and uncontrollable power exist was unacceptable, because it could shake the very foundations of the City of Light. He revealed a terrifying secret. Even though most people don't know it, humanoid creatures still exist. Out there. Red's eyes glowed ominously as he stared at Kay. If you confront them, Kay, in the worst-case scenario, we might have to dispose of you right here. A chill ran down Kay's spine, but he replied with determination, Got it. All right, then, let's do it. He reached out and gripped Red's arm tightly, not forgetting to add, but if something happens, it's not my fault. Because in reality, he still couldn't master and control that power at will. The moment their two energies touched, a terrifying shockwave erupted, enveloping them both in a dense fog of power. Red's fire energy began to surge into Kay's body. It made him scream in agony. The bone-deep pain sent Kay into a full-blown panic. It's too hot! Stop it, damn it, I'm losing control! He felt like lava was boiling in his veins, incinerating every cell from the inside. The overwhelming power from the captain completely subdued Kay. He was stunned to realize the sheer scale of this overwhelming power. So this is the color of red. The man they call a hero. A heat like lava that melts anything it touches. How terrifying. Standing in the heart of the sea of fire. Red remained calm, observing and assessing inwardly. It's pulling at me relentlessly as if it's starving. He noted that although this ability was frightening, because Kay was still inexperienced, truly powerful people could still resist it. However, Red also had to admit that it was still extremely dangerous to most people, and what he had shown during the exam was definitely not his full strength. He stared intently at the hands absorbing his energy and thought to himself, I'd also like to know how color can be absorbed like this. A torrent of black flame erupted violently, consuming everything around it in a bizarre explosion of dark energy. The pillar of pure black fire exploded with such ferocity that it startled Captain Red. Out of control. The vortex that was Kay had transformed into a truly terrifying figure shrouded in darkness. He thought to himself, that form. If I didn't know better, I'd think it was a demon. Red immediately confirmed his suspicions. So you're the culprit behind the incident. He knew he needed to find out a lot more from this young man. But first he had to subdue the madness unfolding before him. Red focused his incineration energy into his hand, preparing to act to stop Kay from losing control any further. Meanwhile, Kay was struggling with the growls and a barrage of dark invitations echoing in his mind. Those voices constantly urged him. That intense color. Give us more. We need it. Such overflowing power. No need to hold back. Kay clutched his head in pain. These voices. Why do they keep appearing in my head? Even though he tried to resist and ordered them to be quiet, their greed wouldn't cease. They kept urging Kay. Keep absorbing it. You want it too? Don't you? All of this color is yours. In the midst of his frenzy, Kay's eyes flew open as he screamed, "Shut up and submit!" A powerful shockwave blasted out, pushing back all the dark energy around them. When the smoke and dust cleared, Kay had collapsed to the ground, panting from exhaustion. Red stood silently watching, inwardly astonished that Kay had managed to suppress that terrifying power on his own. Kay stunned thought to himself, "Ha, that was insane. I thought I was a goner for sure. Why did I suddenly lose control like that?" He looked worriedly toward Red, afraid of having revealed the true nature of his power right in front of a top-tier color mixer. Kay realized he needed to seriously find out the secret about himself. He hesitated, then spoke, breaking the silence. I was caught off guard because the power surge was stronger than I expected, but that means it was a success." "Right." Red gave a mysterious smile. "Ha ha ha, truly fascinating. If you want to gain something, you have to accept the risks." "Good, that's enough for the test." Red acknowledged his power, but didn't forget his own mission. He got straight to the point. By the way, you must have realized that I'm the one assigned to handle the incident that occurred here. And since I've accepted the mission, I have to find the culprit." Captain Red looked directly at Kay and declared, "Right in front of me is a prime suspect." Kay broke out in a cold sweat. Speechless before the senior's overwhelming presence, Kay listened as Red explained that many more people were interested in this destruction than he thought. He emphasized that because Kay stood out so much, once rumors of your ability and your strange black color spread, people will easily point to you as the source of the disaster. Furthermore, Red brought up the damage estimate. It's estimated to be in the hundreds of millions, something a poor kid like you could never hope to pay back. He warned, if the city's leaders deem your ability a threat, and they could either exile you or worse, turn you into a guinea pig for their experiments. Panicked Kay realized he was cornered. Damn it, there's no way out. He thought resentfully, I was just a victim of those assassins, but now how am I supposed to clear my name? Just then Red offered him an escape. If you come with me, perhaps I can sort something out for you. Not knowing what else to do, hearing Red's offer was like being thrown a life preserver just as he was about to drown. Kay bowed deeply. I'll follow you. Red smiled but quickly corrected him. Listen up, I never said I'd solve everything for free. He demanded that Kai carry out a few missions for him in exchange for his protection. Faced with the prospect of crushing debt or being taken away, for experimentation, Kai was ready to risk it all. Rather than being buried in debt or becoming a lab rat if it meant paying with his body, he was willing to do anything. He forced a strained smile and pledged, yes, of course. I'll do anything you need. Red smirked mysteriously at his eagerness. Oh, anything. Kai was like a lost, bewildered lamb, looking out the window. The exploration vessel was crossing through a desolate wasteland. Kai thought to himself emotionally, I've never been this far from home before. The engine roared as the massive ship glided over the barren land. This is my first step as a pioneer. Suddenly, Gale's voice shattered his thoughts. Hey, you, the black-haired kid. His annoyance was painfully obvious. You're really getting on my nerves. Stop that stupid staring and sit down, all right? Kai silently observed his new teammates sitting across from him. He realized that the job of a pioneer was exactly what he had hoped for. But having to be on a team with these people, he still couldn't believe his eyes. Is this really happening? This used to be just a dream. But now he was actually doing what he wanted. The only problem was, his teammates weren't as friendly as he'd imagined. It all started with the offer from Captain Red. Not long before, he had chosen an unexplored region and declared, I'm going to need your help. Seeing Kai's worried expression, Red laughed reassuringly. Haha, don't make that face. You're not going alone, so don't worry too much. He explained that all the new recruits would be participating, and Kai was just one of them. Red announced that the company would soon publicize the plan for this expedition. Specific details would be announced later. Just don't be late. Before turning to leave, his tone turned serious. And remember to show up at the designated location. Got it? Red was strangely enthusiastic about him going. Was he trying to support him, or was this all part of some scheme? Back in the present, when Kai boarded the ship, Eli and Gale were already there waiting. He silently understood that Red's earlier intervention had messed up the initial testing process. So to be fair, all the other candidates had been given another chance. That's how the others managed to pass the supplementary test to be here on this trip, especially Eli, who had the highest score. She had personally requested to join Red's team to prove her true strength. Standing opposite Kai, Gale radiated hostility and gnashed his teeth in fury. "I can't believe I was humiliated because of that brat." Gale still couldn't swallow his bitter defeat. He gritted his teeth, telling himself, "I was just careless for a second." "You shouldn't underestimate others like that, my friend. There's always a bigger fish in the sea." He glared menacingly at Kai. "Don't expect to get so lucky next time. When this expedition is over, you just wait." "You'd better be ready for what's coming, then." Gale smugly claimed that if Lavin hadn't been right behind him, he would have crushed Kai on the spot. But Eli coldly poured cold water on his pride. "Forget it. You'd just lose to him again anyway. You're just wasting your breath. Kai is way out of your league." Gale could only exclaim in astonishment, "What?" Kai, confused, wondered if Eli was on the same side as Gale. But she suddenly declared, "And I'm the one who will fight Kai first." To Kai's amazement, Eli asserted that the two of them had already reached an agreement with just a look. She then turned to Gale with a sharp glare. "Since you already lost, just shut up and wait your turn." Caught between two bloodthirsty rivals, Kai could only sweat bullets, worrying, is this going to be okay? Why did I have to open my big mouth now I've pissed both of them off? The exploration vessel cut powerfully through the dark sea, leaving the city lights behind as it headed straight into the Blacklands, arriving at the pioneer outpost Aurora. Kai was overwhelmed by the hustle and bustle and the sheer scale of the place. He silently compared it to his previous solo journeys. "The last time I came to the Blacklands, I always prepared everything by myself. I had no idea S-rank companies operated on such a massive scale. Supplies, infrastructure. Everything." Lost in thought, Kai was startled when a hand gently poked his cheek. "What are you thinking about?" Recognizing his close friend, Kai exclaimed joyfully, "Marie, you're here!" Marie replied with a bright smile. "Heh heh heh. Of course I had to be here for your first mission, Kai." As she spoke, she opened her coat to reveal a small black cat curled up inside. "Nero's here too, see?" Kai took his little friend and sincerely thanked Marie for taking care of him all this time. Marie excitedly shared that this was a great opportunity for her to showcase her skills and gain more experience at a prestigious company like Aurora. Suddenly, an announcement blared from the loudspeakers throughout the base. It requested everyone to gather to prepare to enter the Blacklands as planned. Kai quickly handed Nero back to his friend. "I have to go. Please take care of Nero for me." Marie held Nero tightly and gave him a reassuring smile. "Don't you worry about a thing." Mary was worried. It was her friend's first mission and he had no experience, so she warned him not to do anything reckless. Kay smiled and waved goodbye. "See you later." Mary hugged Nero and gently comforted him. "Don't be sad, Nero." Suddenly, the black cat struggled out of her arms and darted off. Stunned, Mary yelled, "Nero!" She watched in shock as Nero dove right into Kay's shadow and vanished completely. Mary could only stammer in astonishment. "Huh? What's happening?" "Kay, wait." But she was too late to tell her friend that the cat had followed him as Kay vanished into the crowd of adventurers, quietly thinking to himself, "This won't be a big deal, right?" Ahead of them was the border outpost, the barrier to the deadly Blacklands. An orange-haired female commander gave a sharp order, "Get ready! We're about to enter the Blacklands." She stressed to the entire squad. "Remember, safety is always the top priority. According to scout reports, unknown dangerous creatures have appeared in Area 21. They even found the corpse of an A-rank creature, a testament to the extreme harshness of this place." Commander Arancia ordered everyone to remain vigilant. Just then, a subordinate rushed over to report to her out of breath. Arancia saw the serious look on his face. She asked, "What is it?" The soldier stammered. Well, squad leader Red is leading the rookies somewhere else. They've broken formation without permission." Arancia's eyes widened. She was furious at her colleague's lack of discipline. He always acts on his own whims, constantly putting everyone on the back foot like this. "Red's always been a bit of a maverick, hasn't he?" the soldier remarked, reminding Arancia that she was currently the sole commander here. Arancia clutched her head in frustration. "Ugh, not him again!" The soldier pleaded urgently. "Please, Senior, you just have to bring the rookies back safely." Meanwhile, in a dark and treacherous ravine, Red was silently leading Kay, Eli, and Jill deeper inside. Noticing something was off, Jill spoke up, questioning his squad leader. "It seems our team is going a different way. Does the rest of the team know we've deviated from the planned route?" Kay asked worriedly. "Squad leader Red, is this trip really safe?" Red calmly explained that their destination was very special and that everyone in the group was a promising rookie. Kay wondered why Gale and Eli were with them when he thought this was a private mission. Gale immediately snapped, "You think I'd let a guy like you get ahead of me?" Eli added coldly that she had no intention of letting Kay reap all the benefits of Red's training. Faced with the rookie's tension, Red just smiled reassuringly. He said he would guarantee everyone's safety and told them to start cooperating like a real team. Heeding their senior's words, the rookies fell silent and stopped arguing, focusing on the goal ahead. The group started to venture deeper into the dark black lands where monsters constantly launched attacks from all sides. Eli swung her ice sword, felling enemies with sharp, swift slashes. In an instant, she realized just how harsh this place was. The air was incredibly suffocating, and the monsters appeared non-stop. This was completely different from a regular training session. Eli checked her energy measuring device. She reminded herself to manage it carefully so she wouldn't get depleted too soon. She quietly resolved not to let Kay leave her behind as she watched him stand beside a monster's corpse. Eli suddenly asked, "Why aren't you using any items?" "You didn't use any during the entrance exam either." Kay awkwardly admitted that because they were too expensive, he'd never owned or used one before. Instead, he believed he could overcome anything with his own strength. He was determined to rise up from nothing because he was simply too poor. Gale, standing nearby, overheard this and was completely shocked by the fact that Kay had never used an item in this world. Items were essential weapons for knights to channel their color and kill monsters. Stunned, Gale recalled Kay's powerful punch from before, and he realized that he had been defeated miserably by someone who fought with his bare hands, and without a single weapon for support. He gritted his teeth in fury, silently vowing to one day crush Kay with his own two hands to avenge his defeat. Witnessing the tense atmosphere among the rookies, Squad Leader Red looked incredibly amused, thinking that only geniuses could create this kind of drama. Kids who are jealous and competitive will never stop striving to improve themselves. He urged the group to hurry up as their objective was just ahead. Red announced enthusiastically, "Let's pick up the pace. Time to enjoy today's party." The team trudged between the steep cliffs of the Blacklands toward their mysterious destination. After defeating the monsters, Squad Leader Red called out, "All right, that's enough. Let's take a break." Eli reminded everyone not to let their guard down. The journey's just begun. The group decided to rest for 10 minutes before moving on. Exhausted, Gale took out a vial of green liquid and mumbled, "I can't believe I've used up so much color." Kay watched curiously as Gale downed the entire vial of his personal ink. It was a special refined ink used to restore color and energy, an essential but incredibly expensive item for veteran adventurers. Each type of ink is custom-made to match an individual's color, making them astronomically expensive. Watching Eli and Gale casually drink the lavish solution, spending mana like it is water, Kai couldn't help but feel jealous. Damn, the rich really have it good. However, he told himself he didn't need it and quietly approached the corpse, Busul, of a monster, and held out his hand. To his teammates' astonishment, a massive torrent of dark energy erupted from the corpse and was completely absorbed by Kai. After finishing, Kai clenched his fist, feeling refreshed. Phew. All right. I've fully recovered. Eli walked over, concerned, and asked, "Kai, are you really okay?" Kai nonchalantly replied, "I've done this plenty of times, so it's fine." Jill, standing nearby, couldn't help but shudder in horror at his ability to devour monsters. Holy crap, this guy's insane. He's just absorbing it like it's nothing. What is it? Kai's way of replenishing mana is unconventional, so anyone seeing it for the first time is bound to be surprised like that. Just then, Captain Red announced that their break was over and urged the group to get moving. After a while, they traveled through some cliffs until he stopped and declared, "We've arrived." Before them was a giant black barrier radiating immense pressure from between the ravines. Kai, stunned, exclaimed, "A black barrier, what is this?" Captain Red stared intently at the pitch-black sphere and explained that this was the very reason he'd brought them here. He began to gather blazing fire energy in his palm and commanded coldly, "See for yourselves." Captain Red launched a powerful fire attack straight at the black sphere, but instead of shattering the barrier, furiously devoured the energy and grew even stronger. He turned to explain to the group, "Get it now. If you try to break it with brute force, it'll just absorb that power and get stronger." Looking over at Kai, Red smirked. "It's pretty similar to your skill, isn't it? That's why I had a hunch your power could break through that barrier." Talk about a coincidence, folks. He revealed that inside the barrier lay a path to an ancient ruin where they had to find the main objective of this mission, a star fragment. Kai, Gill, and Eli were all baffled by the unfamiliar name. Huh? What's that? I've never heard of it before. Red just gave a mysterious reply. It's what the City of Light is desperately searching for. I'll explain later. For now, just take down that barrier. Kai nodded in agreement. All right. He then sullenly approached the thick black fog. He slowly reached out and touched the surface of the barrier. Instantly, the dark energy was sucked back into Kai's body. It created a fierce vortex of energy. Witnessing the sight, Red exclaimed in delight, "Whoa, it's working! The barrier is disappearing." The giant sphere quickly dissipated under Kai's absorption power. Red didn't hold back his praise. Heh, Kai, your power really is useful. However, unlike the other times he'd absorbed energy, Kai's face now showed clear signs of fatigue and strain from taking in so much power from the barrier. Was it because of too much energy? Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet began to shake violently, startling Jill and Eli. Huh. What was that? What was that tremor? That was way too loud. They feared the noise would attract dangerous creatures. If we keep making this much noise, the monsters will... Before he could finish, gut-wrenching roars echoed through the ravine. From the darkness, swarms of pitch-black monsters with glowing eyes and sharp teeth began to emerge, surrounding the group from all sides. They barely had time to react to the sudden ambush. But Captain Red just broke into a smug grin as the monsters swarmed in. Ha ha ha! Looks like the whole pack's decided to show up. He ordered the group. We'll handle the monsters while Kai deals with the barrier, wipe them out. Instantly, Jill shot forward like a whirlwind, his sword tearing through the dark phantoms. On the other side, Eli was just as formidable, creating sharp ice pillars that pierced through rows of enemies. Watching the rookies fight so eagerly, Red stood calmly in the center of the fray, thinking to himself, I was planning to help out if they needed it, but it looks like that won't be necessary. Blazing fireballs swirled around him, protecting him from the monster's lunges. Red noted with satisfaction. I thought I'd have to clean up after these rookies, but who knew they'd do so well on their own? Heh, they really know how to take care of themselves. This is almost too easy. Leading a team full of outstanding rookies. This instructor really hit the jackpot. Meanwhile, Kai was still focusing all his energy on the intensely swirling dark energy from the barrier. He started to feel that something was off. He thought worriedly, something feels wrong. Why do I sense a similar power coming from this barrier? Is it because it's also black? He realized that if he lost focus for even a second, this energy would devour his own color instantly. But Kai quickly regained his composure when he realized something. But this power is weaker than mine. So it was a battle of absorption. Whichever side was stronger would win. He decisively focused his power, absorbing the entire stream of dark energy into his palm. After a struggle, Kai let out a sigh of relief. Phew, finally absorbed it all. Appearing before Kai was a bottomless pitch-black pit. He was stunned. Wait, this is the entrance to the ruins. I can't even see the bottom. He hurriedly turned back to report, Captain, I've taken care of the barrier. Red smiled in approval. Oh, excellent. You did a great job, Kai. My intuition was right. He waved to the others who were busy fighting. The barrier's gone. Finish up your fights and assemble here. Seeing that Eli and Gale hadn't stopped, Red yelled, I said don't kill them all. Stop. Those rookies are still busy hacking and slashing away over there. Red's expression suddenly changed, his eyes flaring with a threatening red light. A terrifying pressure erupted from him, throwing both Gale and Eli far away, causing them to collapse on the ground in shock. Gale, trembling, stammered, What was that? Below their feet, the ground fractured into a complex web of cracks like some bizarre sigil. Captain Red gritted his teeth. No way. Of course, things wouldn't go this smoothly. He said in a low, wary voice, We received reports about a dangerous monster in this area, and it looks like it has finally shown up. In the distance, standing amidst a mountain of monster corpses, was a lone figure holding a pitch-black greatsword. Looks like my break time is over. The stranger appeared as a dark warrior, his face hidden behind a grotesque mask with one eye glowing a brilliant white. Red immediately turned and ordered the rookies. Everyone listen up, Kay cried out in alarm. Captain! Red was resolute. You kids run to the ruins now! Work together and find the star fragment. You can do it, Kay asked in shock. Wait, you just want us to go? No more talk, go. Red coldly shoved the three of them straight into a deep, bottomless pit. Kay only had time to scream in astonishment. Ah, Captain Red! He yelled, free-falling through the air. How are we supposed to do this on our own? Without any guidance, instructions, or a simulation of what the star fragment even looks like, it was no different than telling them to find a needle in a haystack. Above the pit, Red stood alone, his gaze fixed as he faced the approaching dark warrior. After the hard fall, Kay pushed himself up in pain. Ow, 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 that hurt. He looked around the dark space and wondered, is this inside the ruins? As soon as he turned on his light, Kay froze, his eyes widening in horror at the unbelievable sight before him. It was a modern city, with crumbling skyscrapers desolate and chilling. He looked down at the endless ruins and wondered how a place like this could exist so deep underground. Meanwhile, Gale started whining about the surrounding darkness, which annoyed Eli, who snapped, "Stop complaining and move towards that light over there." Seeing his two teammates, Kay breathed a sigh of relief. "Oh, there you are. Thank goodness, I thought I was the only one who got lost. The three of us bats finally found each other." But Gale was sulking, blaming Kay for getting them into this wandering mess. Eli immediately shot back, saying Gale wasn't any better than her. As the three stood in the vast space, Gale realized with amazement that the scale of this ancient civilization was far beyond his imagination. He started to worry about their mission. They called it the star fragment, right? How are we supposed to find that thing in this massive pile of rubble? We don't even know what it looks like. Kay silently agreed. If they just wandered around aimlessly, they'd definitely be trapped here forever. He suddenly thought of Nero and wished his little friend were here to guide them. Sensing his master needed him, Nero stopped hiding. He let out a proud cry, startling Kay. Nero suddenly appeared right at his feet. Kay exclaimed in shock, "Nero, what are you doing here?" Seeing Eli staring intently at Nero, Kay broke into a cold sweat, thinking, "I'm so dead." He realized making excuses now was useless, but then an idea sparked. This could be a good opportunity. He couldn't hide Nero forever anyway. Instead, he just had to prove how useful it was. He decided to face the situation. Kay called everyone over. "Hey, everyone come here for a sec." He flashed a confident smile and announced, "I just found an easy way to track down the star fragment." Gale, half doubting, summarized Kay's plan. "So to sum it up, that little creature is your pet, and it's going to lead us to the star fragment." When his teammates understood what he meant, Kay firmly asserted that the group would soon find their target thanks to Nero. However, Eli remained extremely skeptical. She argued that if such a rare creature existed, a noble lady like herself couldn't possibly not know about it. Despite Eli's objections, Kay insisted he was telling the truth. While she was holding Nero up to inspect him, Kay said decisively, "All right, fine. I'll prove it to you. Let's go, Nero." He urged his little friend on. "Show this fool how amazing you are." Nero let out an excited cry and then shot straight out of her arms, making everyone gasp in amazement. Instantly, its body swirled into a brilliant vortex of white light. It illuminated the entire dark space. Witnessing this miraculous transformation, both Gale and Eli stood frozen, unable to believe their eyes. For the first time in their lives, they saw a cat that could glow. Nero led the way, creating a shimmering trail of light that guided the group through the ruins. Gale was still in shock. "Impossible. A creature that obeys a human and has special powers, I've never heard of such a thing. Where did he even find it?" Ignoring Gale's curiosity, Kay watched Nero intently and asked, "Nero, you can feel it, can't you? The star fragment is somewhere around here, right?" Hearing Nero reply with its familiar cry, Kay smiled trustingly. "I'm counting on you." Nero focused intently, its eyes glowing brightly, leading the group deeper into the maze of rubble. Gale shouted with anticipation, "Oh, did it find something?" At dawn, Nero's light stretched out, pointing directly at a dark entrance leading deep underground. Looking into the gaping maw of the tunnel, Kai started to worry. Over there. For anyone afraid of heights or depths, a sight like this would be draining. He hesitated, looking down into the abyss. "We've already gone pretty deep, though. How much farther do we have to go down?" Seeing Kai hesitate, Gil curled his lip in a sneer. "What are you waiting for? If you're scared, you can just stay here." His pride stung. Kai shot back. "Who said I was scared?" and strode forward decisively. "All right, I'm going in." Inside was a long, deep corridor with towering walls looking like some kind of massive ancient research facility. Kai looked around in amazement. "This place is bigger than I thought. I wonder what it was used for." Suddenly, Nero changed direction, and Kai got excited. Nero's changing course. It must have detected something. The little cat darted toward a large door at the end of the hallway. A loud crash echoed as a giant metal foot slammed into the ground, stunning Kai. Before them, a giant machine loomed out of the shadows. Jill admitted in awe. Well, it definitely found something. But none of the three of them had any idea what that something was. What is that thing? Kai couldn't believe his eyes. What is that thing? He realized this was completely different from any normal creature they had ever faced. A beam of light scanned over Eli, displaying her signature blue color code. Right after it was Gil's turn to be scanned, and his green color code appeared on the machine's display. Kai quickly figured out what it was doing. A code scan. It's checking our colors. As the beam of light began to envelop him, Kai held his breath, waiting for the result. The color code? No. Absolute black. The machine's system blared a red alert. It announced coldly, "Black witch color detected. Classified as a threat. Commencing elimination. 1 second warning." The machine threw a devastating punch at Kai. His teammates could only scream in horror as Kai was sent flying. This thing... It scans me and then just attacks me right away. Damn it, this is dangerous. A surprise attack like this could kill me. Seeing his opponent had no intention of stopping, he growled. Well, you threw the first punch, so get ready to take a beating. Kai charged straight ahead, throwing a punch that met the machine's steel hand head-on. A violent shockwave erupted. Kai gritted his teeth, withstanding the pressure. Ugh, how is this thing so hard? He wondered resentfully. Just what the hell is this thing? How can it have such terrifying power? Gil and Eli immediately jumped in to help, but their sharp sword slashes seemed useless against its solid steel armor. Eli realized that even after focusing her color's power, it was like a mosquito biting steel. It doesn't even have a scratch on it. She thought to herself, maybe because the enemy isn't a living creature, my attacks are ineffective. Observing it closely, she spotted an ink core right in the center of the machine's chest, and thought, is that ink inside its core? If that's its weak spot, then that's where we have to attack. Meanwhile, Kai was forced to constantly dodge the enemy's crushing blows. He bitterly realized that his normal attacks were completely useless and wondered how he was going to get out of this mess. In this dire situation, Kai suddenly had the idea to envelop himself in black like last time. However, worried it would consume too much energy, he decided to focus all his power into his fist. A frantic swirl of dark energy coiled around Kai's hand. He put all his strength into a decisive blow. Go on, scan me again. You just scanned me like I was garbage, didn't you? The punch landed squarely on the machine's chest, creating an earth-shattering explosion. The energy core shattered, causing the metal giant to fall to pieces and collapse. Overwhelmed by the power of black, Kai panted exhausted after the attack that had consumed so much of his strength, while Gil and Eli approached the devastated scene. With a look of astonishment, Kai picked up a strange orb from the wreckage. He realized this core looked completely different from the ones he usually saw, and he thought to himself, if I take this back to Mary, she'll probably love it. But the brief moment of peace was shattered by Eli's shout. Kai, what was that power you just used? She demanded he explain it clearly so she could use it as a reference for their next rematch. Gil also grumbled resentfully. Hey, if you had something like that, you should have used it sooner. I wasted my color for nothing. Kai could only reply wearily, how can you complain like you're the victim? It used up so much color last time, so I really didn't want to use it unless I absolutely had to. As they walked on, the group froze when a stone door suddenly opened on its own, shrouded in mystery. Nero kept meowing a warning, making Kai ask nervously, Nero, what is it? Is there something over there? He peered cautiously into the thick darkness. I can't see a thing. It's probably safe, right? The moment his hand touched the pitch-black surface, Kai recognized the similarity. It's just like that barrier we saw up above. Suddenly, a huge burst of dark energy erupted, frantically pulling everything inside. The group was terrified. Whoa, hey, it's sucking everything in, Gil roared. Damn it! Why did you touch it? All Eli had time to do was warn everyone. Watch out! Piercing screams echoed as all three of them were dragged into the void, swallowed whole. The group fell into the dark space. Gil groaned, Ugh, now what? This is awful. It's so dark I can't see a thing. As Kai was checking on everyone, Gil looked down at his own hands in shock. Huh, my color. He realized the grim truth in a panic. My color. It's gone. Before Kay's eyes was a horrifying scene. Both Gil and Eli had lost all their color, leaving only a bleak gray. Gil trembled, unable to believe his eyes. What the hell? What the hell is going on? Never before had they imagined they would become such nobodies. His mind in a complete panic, the director at the Eastern Government Building furiously slammed a stack of reports onto his desk and roared harshly, interrogating his subordinate. "Have you found any trace of that kid yet?" The secretary tremblingly reported that the boy was currently on an exploration mission with Captain Red. He even added that Red had sent a message telling the director not to interfere in matters that weren't his concern, which only made him angrier. The director gritted his teeth, full of apprehension. "Damn it! That's the color black. Doesn't he know how dangerous it is? How dare he bring it onto the battlefield? The color black is something so mysterious. Why was he this afraid of it?" He asserted that even though Red was a true hero, this time his actions had gone too far. The director's fear stemmed from the recent appearance of a monstrous creature in the city, which had sent the council members into a panic, fearing that the Black Wave had begun. He was tearing his hair out, not knowing how to explain the situation, trying to avoid blame while not solving anything in his rage. A sarcastic voice rang out. "Heh, it seems our director is throwing another tantrum today, isn't he?" The girl's teasing broke the tense atmosphere in the office. It was Camellia, captain of the Vanguard squad. She casually advised him to calm down. "Unless you want to end up back in the hospital." Camellia assured him that she understood his concerns, but Red wasn't the type to act without thinking. Camellia believed Red was a reliable protector. And who knows, this dangerous individual might just bring us an unexpected result. She leisurely took a sip of tea and emphasized, "What we need to do now is not panic or worry, but to trust in him." However, the taste of the tea didn't seem to be to her liking, making her grimace. "Ugh, this is awful." The director wasn't faring any better as he watched the sugar cubes spill. He admitted that if Red were here, the worst-case scenario wouldn't happen, but he still couldn't understand how anyone could drink this stuff. He snapped, "Camellia, focus on the conversation." She just chuckled in response. Yeah, I'm not deaf, I heard you." Another one with a strange personality, no less eccentric than her senior Red. Camellia understood the director's wariness of the color black stemmed from his obsession with the Black Witch and the Black Wave of the past. She recalled the painful history when humanity was nearly wiped out by monstrous creatures that plunged the world into darkness, turning it into the Blacklands. Camellia warned that although the city had weathered many waves big and small, disaster would surely strike again given the recent abnormal appearances of monsters and the one who bears the color black. She argued that they needed to gather as much strength as possible for the future. Camellia advised the director to make use of everything, including the color black, and to find a more clever way to persuade the council. The director could only sigh wearily. Easier said than done. Looking at Kay's file, the director silently resolved to do his best because who knew in the future? The entire City of Light might have to rely on this kid, because his difference might just be their salvation. Back in the present, in the dark space, a stunned Kay wondered what was happening. He screamed in panic upon realizing all their colors had completely vanished. He turned and demanded to know why Kay was the only one who still had his color. Kay could only think to himself that perhaps because he possessed the color black, he wasn't affected. Meanwhile, Jill and Eli felt their strength completely drained, leaving them utterly exhausted. But Kay felt fine. He realized this wasn't the first time he'd experienced a loss of color since entering this space. A strange sensation enveloped Kay. He focused his mind and began to see a mystical white light appear right before his eyes. Suddenly, countless floating characters appeared around them, along with eerie whispers that echoed through the space. Unable to bear the hypnotic, demonic sounds, they roared for the hidden entity to reveal itself. Instantly, Kay recognized these sounds. They were very similar to the whispers he'd heard before, but they carried a different tone. A bad feeling washed over Kay, making him believe something strange was about to happen. Right behind them, a dark figure with long, flowing hair silently materialized from the void. Kay's eyes widened in terror as he faced the bizarre creature that had just appeared. Gil and Eli were also frozen in fear by its terrifying form. Without any warning, the pitch-black entity suddenly closed in on the group. The three of them, caught off guard by how quickly and unexpectedly it happened, could only stand rooted to the spot, staring. It slowly raised a long finger and pointed it directly at Kay's face. The moment that finger touched his forehead, Kay's eyes blazed with a brilliant white light. In utter shock, a massive black and purple vortex suddenly appeared. It swallowed the entire city into the void. Beneath a blood-red sky, giant phantoms and monsters emerged from the rubble, destroying everything in their path. A pitch-black sun reigned high above, surrounded by skeletal monsters with countless watchful eyes. Amidst the chaos, a mysterious girl with stark white eyes appeared. Kay stared, stunned, into the endless void. He subconsciously asked himself, is this my memory, or is this real? Who am I? Where did I come from? 1,000 questions flooded his mind. Then, from within a blinding light, a voice rang out. All right, I shall give you a name. Your name is Kay. The figure urged him, go and find your own color and light. And just like that, Kay snapped awake. He clutched his head, screaming in pain. Ha! The soul-deep agony made him collapse, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Ugh, damn it. What was that vision? It's making me so restless and uncomfortable, but right in that moment of shattered memory, a name suddenly appeared, but it was at the very end of that memory. Behind his two friends, Rumian was also trapped in his own mind, swinging his sword and slashing wildly. Meanwhile, Eli collapsed, clutching his head in agony. Just attack me, you bastards. What did I do wrong? All of you die. Get out of my sight now. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I won't do it again, I promise. Forgive me, it's my fault, I'm sorry. He didn't know if that memory had anything to do with him, but it threw him and his teammates into emotional turmoil like a psychological blow that sought out each person's weakness. Kay looked at his comrades, worried. Their condition doesn't look good at all. He thought to himself, this place is too strange. We shouldn't stay here long. We have to leave immediately. Suddenly, a familiar cue rang out, startling Kay. Seeing that Nero was safe and sound, he let out a sigh of relief. Nero, you're not hurt, are you? Are you okay? Nero kept flying and jumping around as if trying to lead him somewhere. This made Kay wonder. What is it? Is there something up ahead? He decided to trust his little friend. All right, let's go check it out. I just have to follow the path you're making, right? He glanced over at Eli and Gale, who were exhausted. Kay wondered, but I have to deal with them first. He asked Nero if its ability could help stabilize them. Nero immediately emitted a brilliant light that enveloped the two unconscious figures. Witnessing the color return to their faces, Kay exclaimed, "Oh, awesome, it seems to be working." Thanks to Nero, Eli and Gale were more lucid but still not back to their original state. Kay told Nero to stay and protect their teammates. Just stay put. I'll go check it out. He trudged along, following the trail of light through the thick darkness. Even after walking quite a distance, there was still nothing but void around him. Kay grew impatient. I've gone pretty far, but there's still nothing. Mysterious whispers began to surround him. And these mysterious whispers, a voice echoed in his head, no color will ever be able to touch you. Kay gritted his teeth, annoyed. Ugh, that's so irritating to hear. Suddenly a point of light flashed at the end of the path, making Kay stop short. There's something there. Could it be? He rushed toward the light filled with hope. Before his eyes, a gigantic structure appeared, glowing brilliantly in the middle of the space of darkness. He burst with joy. I finally found it. The Stardust fragment. It seemed he had finally found the objective his senior had told him about. He approached the Stardust fragment. Kay couldn't help but be amazed by its strange shape and light. It was completely different from what he had imagined. He wondered if each fragment had a unique shape. Doesn't matter. The important thing is to get it and get out of here fast. Kay told himself he didn't want to stay in this freaky place for another second. The moment his hand touched it, a brilliant multicolored burst of light exploded and enveloped his entire body, stunning Kay. He realized in alarm that his absorption ability had automatically activated again uncontrollably. What is this? My absorption ability is activating on its own again. This is a mission to retrieve the Stardust fragment, not to absorb it, right? Looking at the swirling light, Kay reassured himself that it was probably just a temporary effect. When the light subsided, pow! He found himself still standing in the dark space, but he could feel a distinct change around him. The pitch-black space is disappearing, Kay observed as he saw the thick darkness begin to recede. The Black Land truly holds terrifying mysteries that no one could ever expect. Seeing the figures of his teammates in the distance, Kay called out, "Hey, is everyone okay?" Gale and Eli looked at Kay in amazement, who remained calm in the darkness. He pressed, "How were you able to stay so lucid?" But Kay himself didn't know the answer. He enthusiastically held up the item in his hand. More importantly, look, I found it. The Stardust fragment. Gale looked surprised because the thing Captain Red mentioned looked so small, but he had to admit the immense amount of color contained within it was extraordinary. Gale wondered if Kay was really unaffected by everything that had happened. He insisted that he was still completely normal. While celebrating the victory with his teammates, Nero suddenly darted forward, opened its mouth wide, and swallowed the Stardust fragment right in front of the three of them. The whole group froze in astonishment. "Nero, why did you swallow it?" Kay yelled in panic, seeing Nero swallow the precious item. "Nero, that's not food!" Gale went berserk, lunging forward, grabbing the small cat tightly and shouting, "You idiot, spit it out right now!" Seeing his friend being treated so roughly, Kay roared in anger. "Hey, you bastard! What do you think you're doing to Nero?" Even though he didn't know why Nero swallowed it, he didn't want his little friend to get hurt. Amidst the chaos, the ceiling began to crack violently, accompanied by dry, crumbling sounds. The ground shook intensely, sending Gale into a panic. "What's happening? Why is everything collapsing like this?" Eli urged the group to run. The three of them had to find a way out quickly before the entire structure came crashing down on them. They sprinted with all their might toward the faint light at the end of the hallway, amidst a shower of bricks and stone. Meanwhile, in another part of the Black Land, the official expedition team stood before the corpse of a giant monster. The commander, Arancia, let out a weary sigh. "Ha! Damn it." A nearby subordinate grew curious about the identity of the dangerous creature they had just defeated. Observing the tracks left on the ground, Arancia's face turned pale with horror. These tracks, could it really be him? The soldier accompanying her confirmed it. That fighting maniac has truly returned. It's the sword demon, a monster in human form with devastating power. Arancia realized the situation was more serious than she'd anticipated. Their opponent was one of the Black Hands who served under the Black Witch. The mere mention of the name was enough to send a shiver down the spine of even someone like her. The reports about the chaos in the nearby settlements lately were surely connected to the sword demon's presence. Realizing the situation was beyond her control, Arancia gave a firm command. "We're stopping the investigation for now. Everyone prepare to retreat." Although her subordinate looked bewildered, regretting their efforts, she stated that their minimum objective of collecting the ink and raw crystals had been completed. Arancia didn't want to risk anything further. The main purpose of this trip was just to let the new recruits get familiar with the Black Land. She didn't want the rookies who had no combat experience to die so senselessly. Suddenly, a violent tremor rang out, startling the female commander. Horrified, Arancia saw a blazing red stream of firepower explode in the distance and realized it was the color of Captain Red. She feared the sword demon was present there and, "Everyone take cover now!" she screamed as a wave of pressure rushed toward them. A colossal pillar of light descended upon the ground, creating a violent shockwave that enveloped the entire area. Arancia immediately drew her giant mechanical hammer. She channeled fiery energy into it, then swung a critical blow that tore through space. The fiery explosion wiped out all surrounding threats in the blink of an eye. Standing amidst the ruins, Arancia coldly declared, "The expedition is over." Refusing to let the rookies face the impending danger, she decisively ordered the entire team to return to the outpost while she went to join Captain Red. Her subordinate acknowledged the order and led everyone away, not forgetting to tell her to be careful. Immediately, Arancia shot towards the blazing red light that was continuously erupting on the horizon. At the center of the battlefield, a giant crater had formed with intricate cracks spreading across the ground. Captain Red was locked in a fierce battle with the sword demon, creating a deadly dance of intersecting red and black streaks of light. His opponent was a terrifying entity with pitch-black skin and glowing, murderous eyes. The sword demon swung its massive dark greatsword, which radiated an oppressive dark aura, making the surrounding space feel suffocating. The battle between Captain Red and the sword demon exploded with intensity filled with powerful clashes. Red strained to block the pitch-black greatsword that was descending with the force of 1,000 tons. Despite his powerful fire abilities, he could still feel the chilling, killing intent from the opponent pressing in on him. Suddenly, Red unleashed a colossal pillar of fire to divert its attention. The sword demon quickly saw through his opponent's plan and thought to itself, "A nice faint old man Red." He saw the attack coming and swiftly dodged it. But suddenly from above, the female commander Arancia appeared with her giant mechanical hammer, blazing with fire. She decisively launched a finishing blow. "Let's see you dodge this." Facing the pressure from above, the sword demon didn't flinch, instead growling a challenge, "Then we'll have to see about that." A world-shaking strike slammed directly down on its target, causing the ground to shatter and become shrouded in thick dust. Arancia stood firm amidst the devastation and spoke up, "I'm late, aren't I?" Seeing his reinforcement arrive just in time, Red let out a sigh of relief. He flashed his signature smile and joked, "Phew, that was a close one." "Now's not the time for jokes, Captain." Arancia immediately dismissed her colleague's lightheartedness. "Don't say such ridiculous things." She stared intently at the deep crater where the enemy's dark shadow was still looming. "My attack hit him, but it probably wasn't enough." Amidst the rubble, the sword demon stood tall, its stark white eyes glowing menacingly. Captain Red encouraged Arancia, saying that if she used her own color, dealing with that bastard would be much easier. But he also didn't forget to warn her. "You absolutely must not underestimate him." Arancia admitted she was lucky to have arrived in time because no color blender would want to see Red have to use his full strength. Red cut the conversation short. "Ha, enough talk." He asserted that Arancia's presence would help them eliminate one of the Black Witch's dark arms. Immediately, Arancia activated her power, creating circles of blazing orange energy beneath her feet. On the other side, the sword demon seemed to sense something approaching. "It seems it has a weak point, too. I'll have to be more careful with another opponent." Meanwhile, below the cliff, Gil was grimacing and shouting, "Hey, don't push me, I almost fell." Kay shot back, "Then stop being so slow and climb faster." The two of them were struggling to climb out of the dark chasm and back to the surface. Kay put all his strength into gripping the rock ledge and shouted, "Yes, finally made it." Stepping onto the ground, he breathed a sigh of relief, finally free from the ancient ruins. Kay thought to himself, "This is the first time I've ever been happy to see the Black Lands." And he swore he would never return to that place again. But his joy was short-lived. Kay was horrified to realize he had just gone from the frying pan into the fire. What the? Captain Red gritted his teeth and cursed as the sword demon suddenly launched an attack. He yelled a warning to his comrades, "Dodge it now!" The monster moved with terrifying speed. "Don't let it hit you!" Red continued to roar. It shot forward like a phantom, aiming straight for the group of rookies who had just appeared. In this life-or-death situation, Gil and Eli immediately drew their weapons and charged them with ink energy. They both launched a direct intercepting attack on the sword demon to protect themselves. Gil and Eli were completely stunned by the opponent's overwhelming power. Gil's sword was shattered like crystal, causing him to cry out in horror, "What the hell is this?" It destroyed reinforced metal with a single strike. In his despair, Gil realized death was near. "I'm going to die." Just as the sword demon's blade swung down, Kay suddenly lunged forward, taking the fatal blow for his comrade. Kay collapsed. Jill and Eli screamed in anguish. "Kay!" They never expected that the teammate they saw as envious and distant would sacrifice himself to save them. The monster coldly stepped over Kay's fading body and grabbed Eli by the throat. Jill collapsed on the ground, could only watch helplessly as his teammate was threatened. The sword demon maintained its arrogant demeanor. It growled an order, "Make way for me, and don't follow." It then began to make a mysterious demand. "Where is the key? Give it to me." Looking at the suffocating Eli, it threatened coldly, "If you don't want to, I'll kill him." Holding a hostage, it made its demands, causing Captain Red to grit his teeth in anger, his eyes glowing a deadly red. At his feet, Kay still lay motionless amidst the rubble. Red panted, stressed, cursing in his head, "This bastard." The situation became an impossible stalemate with Eli's life on the line. The sword demon kept up the pressure. "Decide, quickly." Eli was so terrified she burst into tears as the blade pressed against her neck. However, amidst the rubble, Kay's hand twitched, followed by a pained groan. Arancia roared in fury, "You bastard, what do you want me to give you? What nonsense are you spouting?" As everyone was focused on the confrontation, their gazes suddenly shifted to the space behind the sword demon. Captain Red uttered in shock, "Kay!" Even the demon itself's expression changed to one of horror as it felt a terrifying, killing intent. It trembled, looking at the figure slowly getting up, and stammered, What the hell are you? I thought you were dead and gone." A figure stood tall in the darkness, his entire body enveloped in a swirling dark aura that writhed like shadowy tentacles. He radiated a terrifying pressure, making the space around him feel like it was being crushed. His form was no longer human, but a powerful and fearsome entity of darkness. Rising from the brink of death, the sword demon stared in shock at the dark energy swirling from Kay. He couldn't believe his eyes. Why would a human have a black color? Kay's hand was now completely covered in darkness, emitting a horrifying pressure that made the surroundings tremble. The sword demon was suddenly caught in an immense pulling force. Yanked powerfully backward, Captain Red and Arancia could only stand frozen in astonishment at this transformation. Deep within Kay's mind, an insistent voice echoed continuously. "Come here, right now. Hurry." That sound didn't stop causing him to close in on the sword demon in the blink of an eye. It left the demon completely on the defensive. Witnessing this scene, Red shouted anxiously, "Damn it, Kay! Have you been swallowed by the black—" He couldn't believe the young man before him had transformed into one of the dreaded black hands. Kay's hand of darkness clamped onto his opponent's face, making the sword demon roar in pain. Is he stealing my very existence? He realized in horror that this wasn't an illusion but a real power that was devouring his life force. In the thick darkness, Kay's eyes blazed, threateningly fixed on his foe. The sword demon, stunned, realized a terrifying truth. Could it be? So you're the one, the key? Countless grotesque mouths with sharp teeth emerged from the darkness surrounding Kay, frantically biting and devouring the demon's body. He was utterly silenced. Unable to resist the rise of such a destructive power, the sword demon screamed in despair as the monstrous mouths from the darkness tore into him. "I can't just end you like this. I'll start with your arms and legs first." The moment Kay finished speaking, it seemed to be the end for the sword demon. But of course he wouldn't go down without a fight. He drew his sword. He swung with all his might towards Kay. A massive impact occurred, creating a violent shockwave that shook the entire area. The sword demon was just as stunned. He realized his attack was completely useless against the dark defense. It had no effect. He stood frozen, trembling, watching the terrifying entity slowly approach. Dark tentacles continued to extend from Kay, surrounding the enemy in a deadly vortex. Seeing that death was near, the sword demon bitterly admitted in despair. To think it would end like this. Just as he was about to be completely devoured, a powerful shout suddenly echoed across the battlefield. "Look straight at me! What the hell are you yelling about?" Commander Arancia dove down from above, blazing with powerful orange flames. She swung her giant hammer, creating an earth-shattering energy slash, and declared boldly, "It's time for you to die. Got it?" The blow landed squarely on the sword demon's stomach. He calculated inwardly that he had to retreat for now. His most important objective, finding the key, was complete. He saw him suddenly leap away. Arancia yelled in shock. "Huh!" She furiously berated the cowardly demon. "Are you kidding me? You bastard! You cause all this trouble for fun, and the second things go bad, you run for the hills. Great! Now I've ruined all the fun." "Haven't I, everyone?" Arancia quickly reported the enemy's escape route to Captain Red. "Boss, he's heading that way." Red immediately determined he had to stop him before he reached the deep chasm. He shot forward at terrifying speed, closing in right behind the sword demon, and spoke coldly, "Hey!" Red's eyes, full of killing intent, glared as he questioned, "And where do you think you're going?" His hand tightened around the hilt of his blazing red sword, preparing to unleash a decisive blow. A ultimate technique called Chroma Extinguished Flame was unleashed, striking straight down on the sword demon's position. The powerful slash created a violent tremor, causing the ground to shatter under the immense heat and pressure. The sword demon groaned in pain. "Ugh!" He recognized that power in shock. "That's Chroma." The wound caused by the red flame made his body begin to disintegrate, unable to self-heal. He thought in despair, I can't regenerate." Captain Red calmly declared, "Now we can fight seriously, can't we?" Before his opponent could even recover, he dashed forward like lightning and struck again. A heavy blow sent his opponent flying. He gritted his teeth and threatened, "Next time! It won't end like this," before vanishing into the void. He still hadn't given up on his ambition. "The key will definitely be mine." A shocking explosion occurred as the enemy managed to escape into the deep darkness, with Red watching on helplessly. Arancia eagerly suggested, "Boss, let's go after him," but Red immediately stopped her. "No, stop. It's too dangerous to go any deeper." Arancia looked resentful. "We almost had him." Red looked pensively towards the chasm. "We have no choice. We're not prepared to enter the depths." Even with light support, this is as far as we can go. He felt frustrated that the black land had unintentionally become a shield for the enemy. The group of rookies approached. "Sorry, I only got in the way." Red reassured them, "No, I'm just glad you're all still alive. To face that thing and have no casualties is a miracle in itself." However, his gaze quickly turned to one of concern as he looked toward Kay. "More importantly, what are we going to do with him?" Seeing Kay standing silently in the black mist, Red wondered if he was even conscious. He was secretly horrified, realizing Kay's power had reached a dangerous, uncontrollable level. If he couldn't master his own strength, would he end up hurting those he cared about? That was the most terrifying thought. Suddenly, Red noticed something strange. What is that? Is he absorbing the dark land itself? A stream of dark energy from the ground frantically swirled into Kay. Immediately after, the shroud of darkness began to fade, revealing the young boy's white hair and face. Everyone gasped. "Kay?" Seeing he had regained consciousness, Red rushed over. "You're awake." The moment the darkness dissipated, an exhausted Kay collapsed to the ground. Looking at his pale body, Captain Red exclaimed in shock, "Colorless! Why would a colorless person possess such terrifying power?" Arancia and the others could only stand there silently staring at the boy who had just undergone a horrifying transformation. Meanwhile, in another dark corner of the land, the one they called Sword Demon was enduring severe burns from Red's fire blast when two blue-haired girls with heterochromatic eyes appeared mocking him. Pointing at the raw red wounds on his body, one of them jeered, "You fought a Red, huh? Wow, you actually survived a battle with that monster." She wouldn't stop laughing at him. "You're so obsessed with fighting. Seriously, what's with that obsession? Watching you fight is hilarious. I could die laughing, haha." Faced with her ridicule, the Sword Demon simply replied coldly, "Shut up and get lost." The blue-haired girl kept rambling about Red's overwhelming power, insisting that anyone who burns themselves out to fight like that will self-destruct sooner or later. As she was teasing the Sword Demon, she suddenly remembered something important and asked urgently, "Hey, why didn't you answer my question from before? You noticed it too, didn't you? That the Black Witch's veil opened? You saw it." "Right." She was desperate to know how the veil had been opened, but despite her pressing the sword, Demon remained completely silent. He thought to himself, "You idiot. As if I'd ever tell you." The Sword Demon was already forming his own plan. He knew that if the identity of the key K was revealed, their side would be at a disadvantage. His selfish nature took over. "I'll take it for myself," he decided. Realizing the Sword Demon was deliberately hiding something, the blue-haired girl gave a wicked smile. "Don't you realize that trying to hide something just makes it more obvious?" "Hee hee, what an idiot!" She confidently declared that she'd find the answer herself. Based on his reaction, she was sure the veil's opening was related closely to the people in the city. To find clues, she decided to send the monsters to attack again just like before. A massive, terrifying shadow entity began to rise from the abyss at her command. She declared, "All right then, let's start preparing to raise a new tide." Back from the dark lands in the city, of light, the scene was dazzling, but the atmosphere in the hospital room was incredibly heavy. Captain Red Gill and Eli stood silently by Kay's bed, watching the still unconscious boy. He thought to himself, "I can't even face everyone anymore." He bitterly recalled his own boast that he wouldn't let a single person get seriously hurt, and yet here he was unable to keep that promise. Red looked at Kay, filled with remorse. "I'm sorry. This is all my fault." He pulled out his pocket watch, staring at it as a sense of helplessness washed over him. Whether it was back then or now, I still haven't changed a thing. This top-tier palette master was insulting himself. What kind of pathetic hero am I? Truly a mentor and senior, full of compassion and responsibility. Seeing his commander tormenting himself, Gill spoke up to console him. "That's not true at all, sir. Considering the survival rate for new recruits, this outcome is actually incredibly fortunate. In fact, I think the only reason everyone made it out alive is because you two captains were there to save us." Red remained silent, the sadness not leaving his face. Though she appeared calm on the outside, Mary was utterly bewildered. What in the world is happening? She secretly watched the high-level palette masters who had suddenly shown up calling themselves Kay's teammates. But none of them were hurt except for Kay, who had returned alone and completely exhausted. Mary had been extremely suspicious of them, but after talking with them for a while, she breathed a sigh of relief. "Looks like they aren't bad people after all. Thank goodness." She looked worriedly at Kay, who still hadn't woken up. But when is he going to wake up? It's so stressful having to face them all by myself. She reassured herself with the nurse's words that there was nothing unusual about Kay's condition and that he should wake up soon. Captain Red turned to Mary. Your name is Marissa, isn't it? You're his friend? Mary confirmed nervously. Yes, sir. Red smiled to reassure her. As you heard just now, don't worry about his condition. Also, I have a question. I'm looking for a small creature named Nero. Do you happen to know where he is? That's right, she'd been so worried about Kay that she'd forgotten about his little friend who ran after him. Just then, Jill's eyes widened in shock as he saw two tiny black ears slowly appear, right from behind Kay's head. He pointed a trembling finger at the bed and yelled, over there! It's right there! Seeing the black cat clearly trying to hide behind Kay's pillow, Gil roared in fury, You little bastard! Get your head out here right now! Nero could only tremble, sneaking a peek at the raging green-haired man in front of him. Gil, still fuming, began to recall everything the cat had done and started his accusation. Captain, that's the one that swallowed the star fragment. He seethed, scolding Nero for disappearing on them. You got the whole team in trouble. Do you have any idea how hard it was for us? Having to explain why you disappeared. Unable to contain her fury, Gale lunged forward to grab Nero. Get back here right now! But the agile cat leaped away, dodging her grasp, causing Gale to miss and get kicked right in the face. You little rascal of a cat. Mary quickly scooped Nero into her arms to protect him. Mary was overjoyed to see her little friend was safe. Nero, I was worried sick about you. So you were hiding in his shadow, huh? She hugged him tightly and sighed in relief. As long as you're safe, that's all that matters. Witnessing this scene, Captain Red suddenly froze, a thoughtful look in his eyes. He felt a strange energy. What is this familiar feeling? Could it just be my imagination? Suddenly, Nero opened his mouth wide, emitting a blinding light right in Mary's hands, startling her. Mary stared in bewilderment at the levitating object. Huh? What? It spat something out. Captain Red approached, breathing a sigh of relief that he no longer had to rack his brain on how to retrieve the precious item. He reached out to take the brilliant fragment and murmured, a star fragment. We finally found another piece. Looking at the glowing item in his hand, the captain's eyes suddenly filled with sadness. He thought sorrowfully, how much did we have to sacrifice? To obtain this. However, the cat hadn't swallowed the fragment for himself. He wanted to protect his master and the fragment. Meanwhile, Kay was still trapped deep in a terrifying nightmare. In the thick darkness, he sensed an immense threat. A dangerous one. The haunting image of the sword demon returned. It made Kay worry for his teammates. Eli and Gale can't handle him. His fighting spirit surged, urging himself to wake up immediately. I have to get out there and take their place. The horrifying image of a half-human, half-demon face appeared in his subconscious. Suddenly, Kay's eyes shot open as he bolted upright from the hospital bed, panting heavily. He looked around in a daze when he saw Captain Red holding the glowing star fragment with Eli, Gale, and Mary standing beside him. Kay was stunned and wondered to himself, where is this? Why am I here? Looking down at his hands, he was horrified to realize he had become colorless. Kay panicked. No, wait. The important thing is that I've become colorless now. What the hell is this, damn it? What am I supposed to do now? He began to panic, imagining all sorts of things. If they find out I'm like this, will I get kicked off the team? Seeing him with his head down, Captain Red spoke up. Lift your head. Did you commit some heinous crime? Why the long face? He asked, nonchalantly, affirming that no matter what condition Kay was in, he didn't care. The most important thing to Red was that the team had achieved an outstanding result on their very first expedition. Looking at the brilliant star fragment in his hand, Red gave a meaningful smile. I never expected you all to accomplish so much. From now on, I'm going to work you like a slave, so be prepared, Kay. Red declared loudly, Welcome to the Red Team. Kay was stunned for a moment, then a relieved smile spread across his face. He replied firmly, Yes, sir. He had been afraid of being kicked out just like in his past, but he never expected them to overlook everything and still invite him to stay. I'm just so happy. After wrapping up the preliminary work, Red signaled that the team was free to chat and then dismiss. He turned and walked towards the door, announcing, As for me, Red said he was going to see Sir Luminous and to report on the situation. Before leaving, he didn't forget to tell the new recruits, just rest up until you receive special orders from the expedition team. The door to the hospital room slammed shut, leaving the three friends behind. Eli looked at Kay and spoke. Kay, I'm sure you have a lot to explain, but I won't press you for details. She asked hesitantly, Do you remember anything about what happened? After you passed out. Remembering Captain Red's warning to keep his black power a secret, Kay looked flustered and replied, Actually, I don't really remember much. Seeing his hesitant reply, she knew Kay didn't want to say more. Eli sighed and decided not to push it. All right then, we'll just drop it for now. Kay could only manage a forced smile in response. No, it's not like that. I'm telling the truth. However, inwardly he was still filled with anxiety. But still, is there any way to get my black color back? Seeing her friend's gloomy expression, Mary let out a smug laugh. Humph, don't worry about that. I've already prepared something for this exact situation. She started rummaging through her luggage. Wait, I put it here somewhere. Huh? After a moment of frantic searching under the curious gazes of Eli and Gale, Mary exclaimed excitedly, Found it, black ink! Eli was stunned when she saw the pitch-black liquid. Mary explained nonchalantly, I snuck it out of the waste storage warehouse. Looking at the thick bottle of ink in Kay's hand, Eli couldn't hide her horror. What in the world is this? You can't even call this ink. This is clearly just trash. Why would you bring something so dangerous back here? Contrary to Eli's worries, Kay was overjoyed. This is definitely my special Maris ink. Only Maris and he knew that his color originated from that so-called waste. He casually picked up the bottle of ink about to drink it, which horrified Eli. Are you really going to do it? It was no different from poison. Ignoring all warnings, Kay chugged the entire bottle of pitch-black liquid. He let out a sigh of relief. Phew. Now I finally feel a bit alive again. Instantly, a dark aura enveloped his hair, returning it to its original jet-black color. He clenched his fist in excitement. Yes, fully recovered. Maris clapped in approval and didn't forget to remind Kay, That's still not enough, is it? I have more in my room. Come by later to get a refill, okay? Kay smiled brightly in response. Oh, really? Thanks, Maris. Kay's color really isn't expensive or rare, huh? Witnessing their playful exchange, Gayo cut in coldly. Are you done with your pointless chatter? He turned his back to leave, tossing out a curt, I'm leaving. However, Gayo suddenly froze, his sharp gaze fixed on Kay. And you? Your arm is back to normal, isn't it? A series of questions flashed through Gale's mind. He knew very well that such rapid physical recovery was only possible for colorists who specialized in healing. He stared intently at Kay's once severely injured arm and wondered, how was he able to do that? Unable to suppress his curiosity any longer, and with a twinge of guilt, because Kay had been injured while saving him, Gale turned back and demanded, All right, just answer me. Back then, why did you jump in and take that hit from me? Gayo gritted his teeth, staring at Kay, waiting for a satisfactory answer. Kay awkwardly scratched his neck and stammered in reply, well, I guess it was because I felt everyone was in danger. He said honestly, sharing his thoughts from that moment. I believed my power could stop the attack, though I'll admit I almost died for real. Kay's explanation was like adding fuel to the fire. It sent Gayo into a rage. He lunged forward, grabbing Kay by the collar and yelling, Don't lie to me, who asked you for help, huh? Gayo glared with murderous intent, his voice laced with resentment. I absolutely hate that self-righteous act of yours. Kay could only stand there, frozen and bewildered by the other's unreasonable anger. Witnessing the scene, Maris couldn't stay silent. She pointed right at Gayo's face and shouted, Hey you! What the hell do you think you're doing? Suddenly flying into a rage like that, being yelled at, a sulking Gale let go and silently turned to walk away. Without another word, Maris watched his retreating back, infuriated. What the hell is wrong with that guy? He's just going to leave without even a single word of apology. Eli, standing beside her, advised her not to worry about it because Gale's personality had always been that disagreeable. After explaining on behalf of her grumpy friend, she also prepared to leave. Well then, if you'll excuse me, Kay replied politely. Yeah, thanks for visiting. Before stepping out the door, Eli didn't forget to mention that her duel with him would be postponed to another time, when it was just the two of them left. Kay turned to his friend, Maris, should we head back? After Maris nodded, Kay suddenly remembered something. Oh, that's right. Maris, I have something I want to show you before we go. Seeing Maris's curiosity, he excitedly recounted how he had defeated a giant mechanical monster while scouting. Kay reached for an item on a high shelf and said with a smile, I thought you'd like it, so I brought it back for you. Ta-da, here it is. It was the energy core of the machine that he had fought earlier. Maris was stunned, looking at the special gift in Kay's hands. This is... Holding the gift, she was delighted and thanked Kay. Even in that situation, he thought of his friend. Meanwhile, in a completely different space, heavy footsteps echoed through a magnificent palace. A lone figure was trudging towards a beam of light. At the end of the brilliant corridor was Captain Red. He walked with a thoughtful expression between giant pillars. Passing through a dazzling gate of light, he entered a solemn sanctuary, where 5 colored ribbons of silk floated magically. Red spoke calmly, "I have returned." In response to his words, a gentle and pure female voice echoed throughout the space. "Ah!" The mysterious woman with beautiful long white hair smiled in welcome. "Come in. I have been waiting for you. You're just in time." Red stood before her full of confidence. "It's been a long time since I had good news to report to you, milady." He gave a smug smile and declared, "Just as you predicted, we can now open the curtain of the dark witch, Lady Luminous." Luminous looked at him with her deep, powerful blue eyes. Exuding the otherworldly beauty of a god at Mary's workshop, the atmosphere suddenly became incredibly excited. Mary intently examined the metal core her friend had given her. The more she looked, the more amazed she became. Exclaiming, "Damn it! I can't believe it!" she yelled in amazement. "I've read about this in books. This is definitely technology from an ancient civilization." Mary explained that it was a device that used ink as fuel. Although it sounded ordinary, its efficiency was absolutely incredible. She couldn't stop praising it. Just a little bit of faded ink has been able to keep a golem running for this long. Their technology is truly astounding. In contrast to his friend's excitement, Kai looked skeptical. "To me, it doesn't look any different from a normal energy core. Is it really as special as you say?" Mary immediately retorted, "Of course it is." She explained that even the most renowned pioneer teams rarely find these in the ruins. If they're lucky, they might see one a year. Mary's eyes grew dreamy. As she imagined a world filled with lost ancient technology, the ever-practical Kai suggested, "So, it's extremely valuable, huh? If it's an antique, we could sell it for a fortune." Just as he teased his friend about turning it into cash, Mary erupted in fury. She shouted, You're such an idiot!" People who don't understand technology always spout such nonsense. She asserted that a true technician like herself would never waste a research opportunity just to make money. Mary was resolute. "Of course I'm going to take it apart and study it." "Why would I ever sell it?" A confident smile returned to her lips as she promised, "All right then. You just wait and see. Ideas are already flooding my mind. I'm going to build a perfect set of equipment just for you." The metal orb captivated her in a strange way. No longer paying attention to anything around her, she began muttering calculations. Seeing his friend so happy, Kai smiled to himself, thinking that bringing the energy core back was absolutely the right decision. He called softly, "Let's go, Nero," then turned to say goodbye to Mary. "I'll be back later." However, Mary suddenly called him back. "Huh. Wait, Kai, hold on." Her face turned serious as she revealed, "I just remembered. Someone's looking for you." Kai was bewildered. "Me," Mary recounted what happened when she went deep into the Shadow District to find recovery ink for him. Mary recalled the moment she was stopped and questioned by strangers she had never seen before. At first, she thought they were just thugs from another area, but the truth was much more frightening. "But they knew exactly who we were and approached me directly," Mary recounted. A mysterious man in dark sunglasses asked her directly, "You're Mary Kai's friend, right?" He coldly stated his purpose. "We want to meet the one who carries the black ink that people have been whispering about lately." Sensing a bad premonition, Mary immediately ran away. Hearing this, Kai became extremely worried. "Mary, that's dangerous. I told you not to go into that area alone. It's a good thing you weren't hurt and managed to get away. Can you believe how reckless this friend of mine is?" Mary replied in a low voice. "I know, but this was an emergency." Mary anxiously warned Kai, "If you see those suspicious people again, don't get involved with them." Kai nodded in confirmation, then said goodbye to his friend to head home. Walking down the street, he thought to himself that although he was a little worried, this area was quite safe, so nothing major would probably happen. Kai told himself, "If I'm really their target, then sooner or later they'll come find me when they need to." Kai wearily dragged his feet through the city, dazzling with lights. He just wanted to get home quickly and rest after a long series of days. However, he suddenly realized that there seemed to be a lot more wanderers lately. Even people who usually hid underground were now out in the open. Kai wondered what was going on. Could the gangs be purging each other again? Suddenly, Nero's cry made him jump and turn around. He asked Nero, "What's wrong?" Following the direction Nero indicated towards a dark alley, Kai hesitated. "Over there. Is there something in the alley?" He reminded his little friend that going deep into the Shadow District was very dangerous, but Nero kept urging him in that direction. He had no choice but to give in. All right. We're going in right now." Kai believed that Nero's intuition was always accurate, and there was definitely something hidden inside. Taking this opportunity, he decided to test something he had been practicing by focusing black energy into his eyes. Kai had noticed his vision changing on its own many times, helping him see things that ordinary people couldn't. He hoped that mimicking it would be useful for detecting danger in the dark. Kai whispered, "Invert vision." He cheered when he saw the skill had worked, but he was immediately stunned with amazement. Appearing before Kai's eyes at the end of the deep alley was a figure radiating a brilliant white light. He was shocked, wondering, what the hell is this? Is someone really there? It was a woman with white hair and deep blue eyes standing silently in a halo of light. Kai shouted warily, "Hey, who's there?" At the end of the alley, and a figure completely covered by a cloak loomed and replied in a deep, muffled voice, "I have been waiting for you, model." Kai froze, thinking to himself, "Wait a minute, how does this person know me? And why did that cat tell me to come in here?" He realized that if this was the person who had been hunting him, he had to catch them and interrogate them. It was the only way to guarantee Mary's absolute safety, not even a second of hesitation. Kay took a running start and shot towards the mysterious door where the dark figure stood. The moment he crossed the threshold, Kay was stunned as the space around him suddenly twisted. He gasped in shock. "Huh!" Before him now wasn't a dark alley, but a dazzling white expanse with a colossal multicolored pillar of light stretching up to the sky. Kay couldn't believe his eyes. My God, just a second ago this was an alley. He looked around in bewilderment, wondering if he had truly stepped into another dimension. Just then, a clear voice suddenly rang out from behind him. "Interesting." The voice continued to echo, "I didn't intend to reveal myself this soon." Kay whipped around and froze. He saw a beautiful woman with long white hair standing right beside him. She remarked nonchalantly, "You should be proud. Not just anyone is lucky enough to find me." Startled, Kay leaped away from her. "Whoa, who are you?" The woman gave a mysterious smile, her eyes radiating authority. "It is a pleasure to meet you, descendant of the Black Ink. I am Celestia." The descendant of the Black Ink, that was him. But that's not what Kay was focused on. It was her otherworldly beauty. Her entire body shimmered with every color imaginable. He was stunned, realizing this was the first time in his life he had ever seen someone shine, and so brilliantly and purely. A shocking thought flashed through Kay's mind. Then, this must be a luminous. He couldn't understand why the esteemed leader of the city would personally seek out a colorless person like him. He stared at Celestia's majestic figure holding her royal scepter. Kay shuddered, wondering just how long she had been secretly watching him. Kay stood frozen, his eyes wide with horror. In his mind, those bewitching whispers echoed once more, full of temptation. "That light, I want it. Devour it." Countless invisible hands of shadow reached frantically for the radiant Celestia as the mysterious voice roared, urging him on. "Closer! Devour that light." Instantly, Kay's entire body began to tremble. His face was completely consumed by shadow, emitting a terrifyingly cold aura as he began to lose control of his body, witnessing this. Celestia couldn't help but be surprised. He's suddenly being consumed by blackness. How strange, I haven't done a thing. Even though Red had told her about it, seeing the boy being so deeply consumed by the darkness, and yet still surviving, astonished her. Celestia realized that Kay hadn't turned into a niece, a dark witch. This suggested some kind of mysterious connection between them. She thought to herself, some council members want him eliminated. But I don't. Celestia affirmed this, her multicolored eyes gleaming. She valued Kay's potential to resist being consumed by the darkness and incredibly precious ability for protecting the city. To her, one shouldn't be a perfectionist about methods. If Kay could harness the power of darkness, then so be it. Celestia gripped her scepter, unleashing a blinding flash of light. Great achievements only come to those who dare to take risks. So for now, let's just have a little chat. The light from the scepter jolted Kay back to his senses. He collapsed, gasping for breath in exhaustion. Ha! Ha! Damn it! That voice! It was clearer this time than ever before. Celestia's curiosity grew. She pressed him. Was that the voice of the Dark Witch? Kay could only shake his head. I don't know. They're just really strange whispers. Seeing how tense he was, Celestia laughed reassuringly. I only wanted to meet you because Red mentioned you, she continued gently. Incidentally, on behalf of the city. I wanted to thank you, Kay asked blankly. Huh? What do you mean I don't remember doing anything for the city? Have you forgotten you're the one who retrieved the star fragment? But Kay had no idea how important that fragment was. Kay stared blankly at the brilliant star fragment in his hand. She explained, Few people understand what this fragment truly means to our city, and anyone who can bring back such a precious light deserves our most profound thanks. Kay hesitantly replied, But that was also thanks to Sir Red's team. Celestia cut him off. Ah, you mean it was the achievement of Coach Red's entire team? Is that it? I'm aware. But what's important is you were the one who opened the Dark Witch's barrier. Her eyes gleamed with a mysterious light as she asked, Do you understand how significant that is? Because not even a luminous like myself has ever been able to do it. She stressed that only the witch herself should be able to open that protective barrier. Celestia revealed that the star fragments are scattered all throughout the Darklands, but most of them are sealed behind that barrier. Our constant battle with the shadow creatures is a fight to reclaim them. And until now, the city has only managed to collect the few fragments that were left out in the open. Kay, looking puzzled, replied, I see. But why are you explaining all this to me? I don't even know what those fragments are for. Well, if you're not curious, you still have to explain it to us, don't you? Kay wondered why both Captain Red and Celestia valued them so much. Celestia realized she should have said this sooner. Instead of explaining, it would be clearer for him to see it with his own eyes. She warned Kay not to tell anyone, as only a few people in the entire city knew about this. A blinding flash of light exploded, enveloping the space, stunning Kay. Whoa, the space just changed! Celestia reassured him that this was just her private quarters, and Kay was the first person to ever witness it. She held the star fragment high, telling him to look closely. Light erupted from the darkness as a giant pillar of light shot out from the fragment, creating an earth-shattering pulse of energy. It aimed straight for the horizon. Kay's eyes widened, frozen by the unbelievable sight. He realized with a shock that the land which had been dark for 1,000 years was being forcefully pushed back by that stream of light. Now he understood. They needed the star fragments to push that darkness further away. Extra urgent news here. The newsboys' cries echoed through the streets, heralding a new dawn for the metropolis. People poured into the streets, stunned by the news about Lord Luminous. He had driven back the Dark Zone and reclaimed territory. The crowd buzzed non-stop. So that light yesterday was Lord Luminous. They couldn't believe their eyes, considering it a miracle. It helped humanity reclaim its territory after 15 years. People believed that as the territory expanded, the city would be safer from the monsters, even though they were curious about the identity of this rarely seen savior. But everyone understood that he had to guard the Dark Zone to protect the city's light. This event opened up countless new opportunities, promising abundant resources and ink from the lands that were just liberated. The great clans began to stir, forming new Vanguard teams ready to invest to seize the largest share of the benefits. Amidst the city's commotion, Kay sat quietly in his room. He contemplated what he had experienced yesterday. He recalled the brilliant image of the God of Light, and a question echoed in his mind. Now he understood the meaning of finding those star fragments, and how important they were to the people. Celestia explained that the star fragment Kay's team brought back could do many things, and was truly extraordinary. But she also issued a serious warning. You must be careful. The demons are also eyeing this area. If they find out about your power, they will surely hunt you to the ends of the earth. The image of the dark sword demon appeared like a reminder of the ever-present threat. Nevertheless, Celestia affirmed that the city would always protect Kay from their attacks. She expressed regret that the city was currently pouring all its resources into survival. So, I can't give you much more. Celestia emphasized that she herself had to focus on preventing the Dark Zone from encroaching, so she couldn't be away for long. She looked straight into Kay's eyes. She reminded him, You are special. Many will both fear and want to exploit your power. She promised to try to prevent bad things from happening before they occurred. And she encouraged Kay to continue being a colorist in his own way. After ordering Kay to return, Celestia smiled. It was nice talking with you. But just as he started to leave, she suddenly exclaimed, "The reward for the red team, I forgot to prepare it." Kay froze, completely stunned. "Wait, so all I get is a thank you?" It's time to get to work. After resting for a full day, Kay wondered what he should do next. He suddenly thought of Mary. She must be struggling since her ink reserves were nearly depleted. Since he had some free time, Kay counted the little money he had and came up with the idea to go mining like in the old days to earn some extra income. A colorist walked down the street, and he stopped in front of a magnificent ancient-style building. He marveled to himself, never expecting to set foot in here one day. This was the Gathering Center, where famous colorists often met. Back when he was a colorless, Kay didn't even dare to come near this place. But now he could walk in with his head held high as a true colorist. As soon as Kay appeared, the atmosphere around him suddenly buzzed. All eyes turned to him with curiosity. "Hey, what's that?" It was his first time appearing here as a colorist, but his color was a bit strange to them. Whispers and murmurs echoed through the hall. "That black shadow. Is he the wielder of black?" Someone else confirmed it. "That's right. He's the first person to wield the color black." Another person seemed hesitant. "Really? The closer you look, the more unsettling he is." The crowd kept discussing Kay's strangeness. Some even felt uncomfortable and wondered what the Dawn team was plotting. They were curious about the true power of Black and recalled his great achievement during the last expedition. Rumors that Kay was about to be officially rewarded by the Vanguard team also began to spread. This made everyone wonder even more how he had caught Lord Red's eye. From above, a young man with brilliant red hair watched Kay's pitch-black figure with amusement and exclaimed, "Wow! Completely black. How unusual." Hearing them describe him as pitch-black, "It just makes me think of a crow, you know, heh." A woman standing behind him immediately reminded him, "Stop acting like such a child. Go take your seat." He just chuckled, admitting he was just curious to see what kind of person Lord Red had chosen. The red-haired man turned to ask Arancia, who was standing by the window. "Hey, Arancia, you were at the scene too. What do you think? Is he as impressive as the rumors say?" Arancia pondered for a long moment before replying, He's certainly impressive. But at the same time, there's something indescribably worrying about him." The haunting image of Kai being swallowed by darkness flashed through her mind. Arancia was certain. She needed to keep a closer eye on this young man. Her comment only made the red-haired man more excited and curious about the black color user. Meanwhile, in the vast hall, Kai continued to walk on alone. He ignored the whispers about him. After all, his color was indeed strange to everyone. Kai walked up to the Gathering Center's reception desk full of expectation. The receptionist greeted him with a bright smile. "Hello, is this your first time at the Gathering Center?" Kai nodded. "Yes. Are there any jobs that would be a good fit for me? I'd like to give it a try." The receptionist handed him a form and added, "You haven't received your official emblem yet, have you? Please fill in your information here." She explained that new palettes could only take on low-risk missions like digging for ink or defeating small monsters. Kai's appearance immediately caused those around him to start whispering maliciously. One person sneered, "Look at that color. It's disgusting." Another asked doubtfully, "How can black even be a color? Is that guy even human?" Someone else was even harsher. "He looks like a monster. What are those idiots so excited about?" A red-haired man was sitting nearby. He couldn't hide his annoyance. When asked for his opinion, he just growled. The red-haired man's jealousy was plain on his face, his eyes glued to Kai's back. His gaze was filled with hostility. "That black-haired bastard is a real eyesore." He'd been feeling resentful ever since Kai was assigned to the recent exploration mission. In his eyes, Kai was just some lucky kid who caught the attention of the higher-ups, which was the only reason he could act so smug. He couldn't accept a rookie with zero experience daring to show his face around here looking like that. His anger erupted. He shot to his feet and yelled to his cronies, "Hey everyone, we can't let that disgusting color pollute our city, can we?" He riled up the group. "Let's go purify it now." Stirred up by his words, those who already disliked Kai agreed one by one and went off to find him. Meanwhile, in a dark mine, Kai was busy with his mining work. He cheered excitedly as he found the glowing stones. Yes, another haul. Cradling the rare, raw ink in his hands. Kai and Nero couldn't help but feel proud. "This is the first time I've ever gathered so much." He was surprised since he'd heard that mining output had been dropping lately. Kai silently calculated, "Whether it's used for fuel or weapons, this ink has to be worth a lot." He smiled. He was happy thinking about his friend's reaction. "Moran will be so pleased." Then Kai focused his power, activating his special eyes. He told himself, thanks to these eyes gathering, resources will be much easier. With the ability to see through the dark, he affirmed, no matter how dark or difficult it is to see, with these eyes I can see everything perfectly. His eyes were like a mineral scanner as he looked towards the shimmering veins of light in the darkness. Kai also silently reminded himself that while this skill was very useful, it consumed too much color energy to be maintained for long. Kai looked at Nero and said, "Looks like you don't need to step in just yet, huh, Nero?" The cat simply replied with a meow. Looking at the bags of raw ink he'd harvested, Kai thought to himself, this went way faster than I expected. If I head back this early with such a big haul, I'll definitely draw a lot of attention. I should find something to kill time before I go back. He picked up a crystal and had an idea. While I'm at it, maybe I should try practicing with the power I've been saving up. Kai began to analyze. First, my main ability, ink absorption. I have to make direct contact to use it. Sometimes I even lose control and absorb things without meaning to. If I'm thinking about the future, I have to master this power. To kill time, he decided to work on overcoming this weakness, and perfect it. Kai marveled as he held a blue stone in his hand. Wow, the quality of this is incredible. The color is so bright and radiant it must be expensive. But as soon as he touched it, a stream of dark energy from his hand suddenly erupted, swallowing the stone's color. Kai yelled in a panic, "Whoa, wait, stop, this one's expensive." In the blink of an eye, the precious stone had turned completely pale, much to his dismay. Don't just act recklessly out of insecurity, so annoying. Despite his regret, Kai realized something important. But I think I just figured something out. The brighter and more vibrant the color, the easier it is for my power to go wild. Especially when I hear those strange whispers. It gets even worse then. I'm lucky I finally figured out the cause. I've been provoked by that sound time and time again. Now I get it. He reminded himself, this time I have to stay calm. I can't let it control me. Is the color I absorb just a mixture that turns into black? Kai began to reason. Each color must have its own characteristics. Let me try using it differently. Black is supposed to be the combination of all colors, right? Maybe I can use every color just like Sir Lumos. Let's picture it. Red, like leader red. Was this the feeling? He started to recall what his senior had done and emulated it. A warmth as if it was burning through his entire body. A blazing red stream of fire energy began to gather in Kai's hand, but then it quickly vanished, surprising him. Huh. This is way harder than I thought. But Kai wasn't discouraged. All right, you can't be a pro from the start. Stay determined. I practiced until the sun went down. Just like that, he sat alone at the ore field, training diligently late into the night. Only then did Kay wearily haul the heavy sacks of ore back. As he walked, he wondered to himself, was I a bit too hard on him? Suddenly, a mocking voice called out from ahead. Huh? The 1,000-year-old turtle finally decides to show his face, eh? Kay froze when he saw 4 figures blocking his path. The red-haired one stepped forward with a sinister smile. Never thought I'd run into the city's famous celebrity. In a place like this, ha! He glared at Kay with hatred. Nice to meet you, you bastard! Seeing the group seething with killing intent, Kay grew wary, wondering what the hell they were planning. Kay was completely bewildered, not understanding what was happening as a group of strangers suddenly blocked his way. One of them, named Grab, approached him. Hey, you! We've been waiting for you. We thought you'd already run off and hidden in some corner. Kay remained calm, even as the guy continued to push him. You really have no respect for your seniors. If you know what's good for you, hand over that bag. Judging by that sparkle, it's colored ore, isn't it? Good stuff. Crap's accomplice Gray chimed in excitedly while their leader Manch looked on with amusement, his gaze turning sinister. The luck of a newbie? Like you isn't half bad. But it's too greedy to keep it all for yourself. If you're smart, you'll tell us where you dug this up. Maybe I'll go easy on you, otherwise, we won't be responsible if you accidentally lose your life. Kay said nothing silently, placing the bag on the ground. Seeing this, Grab grinned smugly, thinking his opponent was scared. But before he could finish his sentence, he took a powerful punch straight to the face, collapsing backward. The other 2 were stunned. What the hell do you think you're doing? Kay calmly adjusted his fist and replied coldly, There are always trashy people like you. Don't waste my time. Come at me all at once. I need to get home early. caught charged with a knife in hand, but K easily dodged and launched a counterattack, sending him flying into the cliff face, shattering the rock. The remaining subordinate tried a sneak attack from behind, but K, quick as a flash, grabbed his wrist, twisted it, and kicked out his standing leg. In an instant, the second man was also on the ground. His head slammed hard against the solid floor. Greed has its price, K thought to himself. As he was about to step forward to deal with the last one, a red bullet suddenly tore through the air. Luckily, he had already activated his swift step technique and dodged it. I would have been toast otherwise, folks. It left a deep hole in the cliff wall, a long-range gun. Manch stood there, the barrel still smoking. Heh, you dodged it, huh? Too bad. I was planning to take you out in a single shot. I've heard about you for a long time. The guy with the black color backed by the first controller of the dark element. I'm disgusted by your kind of color. I have changed my mind. Today, you die. Munch fired continuously. K dodged while using his footwork to close the distance, but every time he was about to strike, the guy would shoot the ground, creating crystal blocks in his way. Manch boasted, "My blood is crystallization. I can create rubies and bloodstones. Combined with this gun, my bullets are infinite. How can your trashy black color compare to me?" K took cover behind a rock, breathing deeply as a dark aura began to emanate and surround his body. He recalled his previous reckless encounters and understood that if he only defended passively, he would soon run out of energy. Just then, the subordinate he had just defeated suddenly rushed forward and held K tight, yelling, "Boss, shoot, I've got him!" Manch didn't miss the chance and pulled the trigger. The bullet pierced K's mind, but instead of collapsing, K remained standing with only the dark aura on his forehead swirling. He had absorbed the bullet. Manch was horrified. "Impossible, I shot him right in the head." K slowly brushed the dark mist off his body, his gaze sharp. "Are you done shooting?" "Now it's my turn." The red-haired leader was stunned to see K completely unharmed after a direct hit. "Hey, stop joking around. You were hit by my armor-piercing bullet. So how are you still standing there like nothing happened?" "No way." He reassured himself that K was just putting on a brave face to hide his internal injuries. "You're just pretending to be tough, aren't you? That's an old trick. You think you can fool me with that? Even if you could block it, I bet you're a complete mess on the inside." Meanwhile, K realized his situation hadn't changed at all. As long as his opponent has a weapon, he would just be a shooting target for him. Even though his bullets were no longer a threat, he understood he needed a more effective plan of attack. The air was tense. K silently assessed his current power. "This is consuming a terrifying amount of color. It uses up way more than what I absorb." He told himself, "If I use it recklessly, my color will be depleted in an instant. I need to prioritize dealing with this annoying opponent first." Wanting to close the distance easily, K decided to try a new trick. He reached his hand towards his opponent and said, "Well then, shall I give it a try? I'll just borrow this for a bit." The red-haired man was confused. "Huh?" K continued coldly. "Yeah, that ability you just used. I feel like trying it out myself." Immediately, the dark energy from his palm began to contract and compress into a sharp form that looked like it had just gone through a faulty copy-paste job, but it still ran smoothly. A spear pitch black and thick with energy appeared, shocking the leader to his core. "What the—" K was incredibly excited to see that he had actually succeeded. "Oh man, I actually did it. Before, all I knew how to do was throw punches blindly, but with this could cover my weakness." He realized that by observing his opponent's crystallization ability just now, he had grasped a little secret to controlling his own color at will. K smirked with a challenging smile. "Anyway, thanks for that. You taught me a fun new trick." He swung the black spear forcefully, sending it flying at a terrifying speed. The red-haired man panicked and yelled, "Again, you bastard!" He frantically unleashed a barrage of bullets in desperation, but K used the spear to swat away every attack and close in on his enemy in an instant. K sneered at his opponent's helplessness. "I told you it was useless." He brandished the pitch-black spear and challenged, "Since we're fighting anyway, how about you be my sparring partner for a bit?" K shot up into the air and brought a heavy blow down onto the ground, terrifying the red-haired man. "How could this be? How is this possible?" The leader realized with a shock that K was simulating his own attack. "He's copying my moves exactly," K excitedly thought. How about I try transforming it a little?" He morphed the dark energy into a giant blade, then swung a fatal blow that shattered his opponent's weapon, leaving him frozen in astonishment. His expression could be turned into a meme. when you realize you just taught the boss how to beat you. Looking at the pile of scrap metal at his feet, the red-haired man was in despair. No way. My custom-made gun. He couldn't believe the weapon he had poured his heart into was shattered to pieces with a single slash. He trembled, wondering if the color black held some mysterious power he didn't know about. Seeing Kay silently approach him, all he could do was scream in fear, This isn't normal at all. You freakish monster. Kay panted, clearly feeling the exhaustion. Man, that was tiring. This ability drains a crazy amount of energy. Just using it once did this to me. However, he was still satisfied with the destructive power it brought. Looking at his enemy who had lost all his weapons, Kay said mockingly, Now what are you going to do? You don't have a weapon anymore. If you've got nothing else, you can just charge in and fight me with your bare fists. Though I know even that would be useless. His pride wounded, this red-haired man furiously erupted with blazing energy. Don't get so cocky, you bastard! The red-haired man roared maniacally as a series of fiery red crystal pillars suddenly burst from the ground. He shouted, You saw me shooting my gun and thought that's all I could do, huh? He asserted that his color could create both rubies and red iron ore, and even without a gun, he was strong enough to finish Kay. With eyes burning with killing intent, the leader charged forward like a wild beast. Along with a powerful attack, his aura flared up violently, looking as if he had just activated max-level rage mode after being cornered. He unleashed a storm of sharp crystals. They were aimed straight at his target. The relentless assault forced Kay to constantly retreat to defend himself. The powerful impact of the ruby shards created dazzling explosions, right next to Kay's body. In that perilous moment, Kay concentrated his dark energy, forming a pitch-black shield that enveloped his arm. The solid shield of darkness completely blocked the red-haired man's crystal storm. Not stopping at defense, Kay used the power of his black color to crush the incoming crystal masses. He shot through the sea of blazing red energy, closing in on his opponent at an incredible speed. Witnessing his enemy break through his attack, the leader's eyes widened in horror. Before he could even regain his senses, Kay was right in front of him, with a fist fully charged with power. The distance was closed in an instant. A devastating punch slammed straight into his stomach, making the red-haired man cry out in pain. Ah! Kay coldly grabbed him by the collar, lifted him up, and then forcefully slammed his opponent onto the ground. Completely subdued by Kay's overwhelming power, the leader was pinned to the ground as Kay coldly asked, Have you given up yet? He emphasized that this was the end he brought upon himself, so he shouldn't blame anyone. The red-haired man was stunned by the terrifying strength of a rookie. He felt that Kay's very existence had completely defied common sense. He trembled and screamed, calling Kay a disgusting monster because of the black color he was using. He insisted Kay's power was completely abnormal and not human. In his eyes, everything about him was freakishly terrifying. He mockingly asked if Kay ever found himself strange, to be carrying such an unlucky black color and still be able to live so carefree. He laughed like a madman and declared that Kay was just a monster in human skin. Faced with these insults, Kay remained silent. His gaze turned sharp, cold, and full of pressure. He tightened his grip on the leader's collar, making him sweat bullets in fear. Kay's eyes glowed as he stared down his opponent, like a predator observing its pathetic prey. Suddenly, Kay let out a mocking laugh. He realized that the opponent who had seemed so dangerous a moment ago could now only resort to trash talk. Kay stated that he now understood his thoughts perfectly. He gripped the red-haired man's neck tightly and declared that if he was so interested in his power, then he would show him everything. The leader panicked, unable to comprehend Kay's intentions. It was like accidentally clicking View Boss's full power with no back button. Kay coldly spoke of fairness. Since his opponent coveted what he had the right to take what they had. Ignoring the desperate pleas to stop the dark energy from Kay's hand erupted violently. An explosion of darkness occurred wildly, swallowing the red-haired man who only had time to scream in agony before sinking into the night. The whole world seemed to hold its breath before the nightmare truly began. Kay sat pensively on the pile of thugs' bodies. He worriedly wondered to himself, what do I do now? At first he planned to just ignore this place and bolt, but he was afraid that leaving the scene like this would cause a huge mess. He knew that while people were curious about strange colors, most of them despised and feared the color black. He worried that if he drained all their color, seriously injuring them, and the story got out, everyone would see him as a monster. How scary? No, absolutely not. I can't just let it end like this. Kay frantically searched his bag, telling himself he had to do something. For myself, for all the effort I've put in until now, he thought. That's right, I have this. He violently forced the leader's mouth open and poured the ink in. Hey, you! Open up! Seeing the man's complexion gradually improve, Kay breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, whoa, it looks like his color is slowly coming back. He continued to force the other one to drink the ink, then quickly left the scene. The whole thing was as chaotic as a field mash unit, except the doctor was a bit more violent than necessary. At the city's east gate, the guard on duty was horrified to see two thugs tied up in a faded state. He was stunned. Huh, what is this? Why were they left in such a color-drained state? The people around murmured among themselves, speculating that they had used up all their energy in the dark zone. Meanwhile, Kay, completely covered up, had already snuck away from behind. Phew, glad I wasn't caught, he thought. He realized that injecting them with the specialized ink had helped them recover just enough color for him to get away with it. Kay thought to himself, if anything major happens, I'm sure Captain Red will help me out. This is totally a case of committing the crime and then cleaning up your own mess. His getaway was so professional it was suspicious. Kay found his way to the mechanic shop and called out, Mary, Mary. Mary, who was busy, turned around to scold him for disappearing for the past few days. What have you been doing? Kay scratched his head and laughed awkwardly. Haha, sorry. I just went to accept a mission at the assembly center. Seeing her friend's excited face, Mary grew curious. What is it? Got some good news, Kay announced confidently. Heh, you're going to be so shocked when you see this. Ta-da! He presented several crates of vibrant raw color ore, leaving Mary stunned. Wow, is this raw color ore and so much of it? Kay smiled and explained. This was what he'd harvested from his mission. He thought of Mary, so he brought it back as a gift for her. Mary excitedly threw her arms around Kay, praising him endlessly. Kay, you're the absolute best. She promised she would definitely put the ore to good use. Suddenly Kay froze when he saw a shimmering light emanating from Mary. He recognized this warm feeling. It was very similar to the light he had seen from Gale, but much more brilliant. Kay marveled at Mary's brightness. A person who always smiled and comforted others despite growing up in the dark Sector 3 slums. That moment softened unexpectedly, as if in the midst of a dusty world there still existed an unconditional, free source of light. That brilliant color was indeed a perfect match for her pure soul. Kay, come over here. I was going to finish it first to surprise you, but I'll just show you now. Before Kay's curious eyes, she proudly announced she was building a specialized gun just for him. Kay exclaimed in amazement, Huh, seriously? Mary boasted smugly that she had improved a lot, and with this new ore, upgrading his equipment would be incredibly easy. Her eyes lit up, looking just like a genius mechanic who had just unlocked a dream upgrade. In the middle of their happy moment, a cold voice rang out from behind. I heard you just got back from the Dark Zone. So this is where you were. Startled, Kay spun around and saw it was Eli and Gale. Hey, what are you guys doing here? He thought, worried that Gale was looking to start another fight. Eli announced that Lord Luminous had praised the team's achievements and requested they come to the command center to receive their reward. Kay was stunned. Lord Luminous. Mary immediately urged her friend to go, since this was a big deal. Though disappointed he couldn't see Mary's gift yet. Kay still smiled and promised to be back soon. The three rookies headed to the Dawn Vanguard headquarters. Led by a staff member, they entered a long, deep corridor where a powerful figure was waiting. At the end of the hall, Kay stepped into the Dawn Vanguard headquarters and was immediately overwhelmed by its grandeur. He marveled silently as he saw the illustrious exploration achievements displayed prominently on all the walls. After being led by the staff into the main office, a woman with vibrant pink hair greeted them with a smile. So you're the ones. The stars of the recent rumors are you. She introduced herself as Camellia, captain of the Dawn Vanguard, which left Kay completely dumbfounded, never expecting the Supreme Commander to be so young. The feeling of walking in here was like a small fish entering the great ocean only to immediately run into a shark. Camellia was famous for being one of the few people in the city who possessed polychromatic abilities, a powerful figure usually only seen in newspapers. She casually mentioned that she was very surprised when Captain Red suddenly praised the rookies, especially Kay, the first wielder of the color black, which had sent ripples through the upper echelons. However, the solemn atmosphere instantly shattered when Camellia took a sip of tea. and then spat it all out because it was too bitter. She scowled and yelled at her assistant, Lavin. Lavin, I told you to prepare something sweet like cocoa. Lavin could only sigh and remind the captain to try and maintain her image as the new recruits were present. The badass commander image she had built for all of a few seconds collapsed as quickly as a sandcastle hit by a wave. After that chaotic greeting, Camellia got down to business. It was time to give them their reward for this Vanguard mission. Lavin presented them with personal security cards provided by the higher-ups exclusively for Vanguard members. Inside it already included their monthly salary and the mission bonus. Kay was floored when he checked the number on his card and blurted out, This much is this for real? He was stunned to realize, with this enormous amount of money, buying a new house was as easy as lifting a finger. But it didn't stop there. The group also officially received C-rank Pioneer membership cards and were allowed to skip the probationary period. Camellia announced they would enjoy special privileges throughout the city, and most importantly, they would get the color mixing workshop to produce custom gear for them. Both Gale and Eli were stunned with amazement as this was an incredibly important place that even nobles had to wait in line for. Camellia affirmed that the color mixing workshop in the Lumina district was responsible for the maintenance and design of all high-end equipment for chroma users. They had received rewards that were both wonderful and exactly what they had hoped for. Both Eli and Gale couldn't hide their smug satisfaction. Camellia officially welcomed the trio to the Pioneer team and assured them of her full support. She stressed that the city always needed more forces, as strong enough to confront the encroachment of the Dark Zone. Her gaze turned grim as she confirmed that the star fragment they brought back was the very key to the survival of the entire City of Light. With a knowing smile, Camellia called them the new kids and said she expected explosive achievements from them next. Leaving the headquarters, Kay walked with an incredibly cheerful heart. His joy was palpable, as if he'd just gotten a morale boost and wanted to rush out and take on a few more quests right away. He whispered to Nero that today had truly been a day full of good things. Kay was still amazed that he had been promoted to C rank so quickly. Remembering the rewards and the support of his friends, he told himself that the decision to join the Pioneers was absolutely the right one. Kay was eager to tell Mary this good news right away. He knew his friend would be thrilled. However, just as he arrived in front of the machine shop, Kay froze when he saw the door wide open. He stepped inside and called out for Mary with a sense of unease. Before his eyes was a scene of utter devastation with machinery and tools scattered across the floor. As darkness closed in, the joy he'd just felt was doused with a bucket of cold water. The scene shifted so jarringly that his heart sank with it. Kay stood frozen. His eyes were wide with shock and fear. At the eastern fortress, the night sky was torn apart by the shrieks of monsters. A panicked commander issued an order, "The monsters from the abyss. They're pouring into the illusion. Reinforcements, everyone this way." In the midst of the chaotic battlefield, weapons clashed and men screamed. "Aim for the big ones first," they yelled in desperation. "When will this nightmare ever end?" Despite their efforts to fight back, the soldiers' morale began to crumble under the relentless assault. From a high cliff, a mysterious girl with green hair quietly observed the devastating scene and let out a sinister smile. "Ha ha ha. That's right. Go on and struggle. Struggle all you want." She mocked the weakness of humans. "Honestly, if you people can't even handle a small thing like this, I'll be very disappointed, you know." "This wave of attacks is just a boring little prelude," she declared. But this still isn't enough." Watching the monsters rampage, the girl clicked her tongue in boredom. "Just smashing these small fry is a waste of time. To wipe this disgusting city clean, I'll have to use a more surefire method." A calculating glint flashed in her eyes. I suppose I'll have to go down there one more time." Standing beside her, the cold sword demon with white hair spoke up. "Go down to the city to meet what are you trying to get yourself killed?" he taunted, mocking his companion's overconfidence. However, he also revealed a crucial piece of information. "Fine, I suppose there's no harm in telling you. Below the eastern fortress, there's a passage leading down to the abyss, though it's a bit cramped." The green-haired girl smirked smugly. "Down there, I happened to discover something extremely useful. Have you ever heard of the underground city?" Meanwhile, Kay had just returned to the machine shop. The sight that greeted him was one of utter ruin. Belongings were smashed to pieces, scattered all over the floor. A bad feeling washed over him. Kay rushed inside in a panic, shouting, "Marine!" Kay burst into the workshop, yelling, "Marine, where are you?" He ran through every corner, searching desperately. "Marine, Seeing the ransacked belongings, Kay realized there was no sign of his friend, not even in her workshop. A dark thought flashed through his mind. Could she have been kidnapped? Looking at the tools strewn across the floor, he clenched his fists in fury. Who would do this? Kay's long shadow fell across the silent room. He gritted his teeth. What bastard? Memories of Marine's smile and images of her in danger flooded his mind. He couldn't help but feel terrified. Kay told himself, if what happened last time happens again. Suddenly a meow pulled him back to reality, cutting through his escalating emotions. Just when the movie was getting tense, an NPC suddenly shows up and ruins the mood. Kay snapped out of it and looked around. Nero! He saw the black cat peeking its head out from a gap under the floor. Nero quickly leaped onto the tabletop, as if it wanted to show him something. Kay approached, puzzled. What's this? Before him was a mechanical device lying amidst the tools. This is... He recognized it as the personal item Marine had once mentioned. Seeing Nero continuously signaling, a dreadful feeling crept over him. If Nero ran all the way here, could it be... Nero's expression was so serious that if he could talk, he probably would have been spamming emergency alert pings this whole time. Kay immediately activated his inverted eyes skill. A wash of white light covered the space, allowing him to see the lingering traces of energy. He recognized a familiar aura. That's the same color as the energy that radiates from her body. Kay silently understood his little friend's intention. No wonder you insisted I look at this. Though his heart was burning with anxiety, hoping that Marine was safe and sound, Kay still forced himself to stay calm. Who? Calm down. Right now, I have to push aside all these unnecessary emotions. He realized the ones behind this were definitely the same bastards who had been targeting him. He recalled Mary's warning about the mysterious group hunting them and how they had used her as bait. Gritting his teeth in fury, he stared into the void and muttered, You trash! You brought this on yourselves. All he felt now was extreme worry for his best friend Marine. Just wait a little longer. I'm coming to save you right now. Kay's gaze fell on the device Marine had been working on. And this thing, I'll make full use of it. He decisively slipped on the mechanical gauntlet. He was ready for the life-or-death battle ahead. His determination was so high you could tell just by looking at him that this wasn't just a fight anymore. It was about getting her back no matter the cost. The gauntlet fit perfectly. Kay could feel it. A new power was surging through his every fiber. It fits so well. The performance has clearly increased. I can feel the difference immediately. Streams of dark black energy began to envelop his arm. Kay confidently affirmed, even a long fight won't be a problem. He turned and signaled to his little friend, let's go. Nero could tell he'd equipped a high-tier item, the kind that makes you want to test its damage right away. Let's go save Marine. Kay walked with a look of sheer determination. His silhouette silently advanced into the dark, narrow alleys of the slums between moss-covered walls and old pipes. Kay moved past the vagrants lying exhausted on the roadside. He paid no mind to the scrutinizing glances or the gloomy atmosphere around him, focusing intensely on the one and only goal ahead. At a fork in the road, Kay stopped, realizing something was wrong. The colored trail had vanished. His eyes came to rest on a deep pit with an iron ladder leading underground. Away down, there's a new secret entrance, and it's closer than I thought. Stepping down, Kay was stunned to see countless vagrants gathered in the dark space. No wonder the number of homeless people has been unusually high lately. Suddenly, a large figure blocked his path and laughed smugly. Ha ha! See, I told you I was right, didn't I? You're lucky you stopped. Kay stood opposite the group of strangers. Their leader gnashed his teeth and growled, Don't tell me you've already forgotten my face. He glared at Kay with eyes full of hatred, reminding him that even though they weren't close, there was still a debt to be settled. The air was so tense you just knew someone was about to get wiped out. Unfazed by the threat, Kay coldly asked, Where is Marine? The leader flew into a rage and yelled, How the hell should I know, you damn brat? You think I'm just going to answer you? You should be worrying about yourself first. He bitterly recalled the humiliating moment of his defeat, declaring that Kay was the reason he'd fallen into this miserable state, forcing him to regain some of his strength. He had to do the dirtiest jobs and accept being a pawn at the bottom of the organization. He hissed, The reason I've endured all this time was to wait for this day of revenge. Do you have any idea how much I hate you? Even though my orders from Balance were to take you alive, he declared. They don't require all your bones to be intact. He ordered his men, "You're going to pay me back for everything with interest." "Everyone attack! Take him down!" The thugs rushed forward with their weapons, but Kay just silently gathered dark energy in his palm. A jet-black blade materialized as he coldly declared, "I don't have time to waste here, and there's no need for mercy either." His speed was so fast, a security camera would probably just capture a blurry shadow with a loading icon. Kay shot forward like a phantom, his shadow blade tearing through the air and cutting down anyone in his path in the blink of an eye. His terrifying speed completely broke the mob's formation. The leader cried out in terror, "Is he insane? What the hell is this monster?" He hurriedly activated his weapon, unleashing a slash of brilliant green energy to stop him. But Kay calmly faced it and stopped the blast with his bare hand. The force was stopped right in front of his enemy. The green-haired leader's eyes widened in horror as he realized Kay's power had been completely transformed. Before he could even process it, Kay threw a devastating punch that sent him flying with a scream of agony. Just watching that punch was enough to make you want to write a will just in case. Kay coldly advanced, grabbing the man by the collar and taunting, "A lot different from last time. And isn't it? To be honest, I don't like hurting people. But for scum who kidnap innocent people, don't expect any mercy from me." Looking at the henchman lying on the ground, Kay ruthlessly declared, "Some of you will probably be crippled for life." He looked at the defeated thugs with an emotionless gaze. "But isn't that your own fault? Consider yourselves lucky you're still alive." Kay pulled the leader closer and said scornfully, "I just remembered. You used to be a pioneer, didn't you? A pioneer doing this kind of dirty work. How despicable. The likes of you don't deserve the grace of the light." The green-haired man trembled, sweat pouring down his face in terror. He only managed to utter, "Wait," before his screams, "Ah," echoed through the dark cellar. Kay resolutely dragged him away. "You're coming down there with me."
"I need a guide for that place."
Ignoring his pleas of, "Wait," Kay silently dragged him toward the deep pit. Without a moment's hesitation, Kay plunged straight into the chasm, taking the leader with him. The two of them free fell through the dark space, where the only faint light came from the bottom of the abyss. As they fell, Kay looked down into the void and mused, and to himself, "I never thought I'd come back here again." Appearing before them was a magnificent and overwhelming view of an underground city set amidst giant pillars, a tangled network of pipes, a dazzling city of lights stretching endlessly underground. Kay and his guide dwarfed by the vast space head straight toward the center of the mysterious underworld. Kay forcefully shoved the guide's shoulder and growled, "Pick up the pace, and don't even think about trying anything stupid." The man could only grit his teeth and endure it. Again, you think you can mess with the boss's crew and get out alive? What can you possibly accomplish all by yourself? Daring to show your face like this, you're a dead man. Instantly, Kay grabbed him by the throat, making the man choke out in pain. Kay's eyes glowed threateningly. "Still got a tough mouth, I see. Guess you still don't understand your situation. Shut up and lead the way properly before I actually kill you. If anything, and I mean anything at all, happens to Marine, you and your friends better prepare for the absolute worst." His tone was so calm, it was terrifying. You wouldn't know whether to tremble in fear or just go ahead and write your will. The guide stammered, I understand." The two walked through the bustling crowd of the underground city as whispers and murmurs rose from all around. "Are you guys having some internal dispute? That other guy's colors are really weird." "Shh, don't get too close." Kay looked around, thinking to himself, "This place hasn't changed at all, not even a little." The underground city was like a shadow cast by a lamp, a place the light of Luminous couldn't reach, and it had become a den for thugs. There's no law here. The colorless have to survive by working the underground mines, as it's the only way to live for those who have nowhere else to go. Kay froze, realizing this was the very place where he'd first met Marine. The guide glanced at Kay and cursed under his breath. "Damn it, you son of a bitch." A sinister smile spread across his face. "Go on, enjoy the moment. After all, my only job is to lead you to the base. You walked right into the trap yourself, you idiot. This place will be your grave." Just as they stopped in front of an old, dilapidated structure, a deep, gruff voice rang out, "So you're finally here." Strangers emerged from the shadows. The leader growled, "I've been waiting for you so long I was about to grow roots." Amidst the buzzing crowd in the underground city, jeers were aimed relentlessly at Kay. "Damn, he's black." Another sneered, "What a gloomy color. like a lump of ore. Or maybe you fell into a vat of ink, ha ha ha. The leader with his dark glasses and helmet spoke coldly. So you've finally made it. Seeing this, the guide scurried over. Boss, he reported immediately. I've brought the black-colored guy just as you ordered. Noticing his underling had returned to a pale, colorless state, the boss growled, Your color's faded again, has it? I've told you before. Those without color are worthless. Though the guide trembled and pleaded that it was beyond his control, the boss declared coldly, Your chance has passed. That means your value ends here. He spoke with such finality you'd almost want to ask, Sir, should we sign the termination papers right now? He swung his arm mercilessly, striking the underling down, then clicked his tongue in disgust. What a waste of time on this piece of trash. Faced with such cruelty, Kay remained perfectly calm, his expression unchanged. You still act the same as ever. You haven't changed one bit. He looked his opponent straight in the eye and said firmly, I'm here now, so answer me. Where is Marine? The boss smirked, full of arrogance. Huh. You still don't get the situation, do you? Think carefully. Who has the upper hand now? His smile was so confident it was as if he'd already bought a ticket to watch Kay get wrecked on the spot. He sneered that if Kay had just backed down and cooperated from the start, this all would have been over. He growled menacingly. The more you refuse to cooperate, the harder it will be to find that Marine girl or whatever. You get it. He laughed maniacally. By now, who knows what might have already happened to her, who knows? Ha ha ha! A murderous aura erupted from Kay. He declared coldly, fine. Then I'll just have to raise this entire place to the ground. Kay's eyes blazed a brilliant white as dark energy erupted wildly from his arm, forming a vortex of black power. It enveloped his entire body. The horrified leader yelled, What the hell is that? A terrifying explosion rocked the area, sending the henchmen flying. Amidst the rubble, Kay stood tall, facing the hundreds of figures that were surrounding him. The noise was so loud it reached the office of the top leader. A subordinate rushed in, frantically reporting, Boss! It's an emergency, boss, the black one we're looking for. And he's going berserk. He urged his boss to see the situation for himself. The branch leader, a man with long hair and glasses, screamed in desperation, Stop him! Hold him back for me, you idiots! He ordered his men, telling them to hold their ground and buy time until the higher-ups arrived. But against Kay's overwhelming power, the thugs were nothing more than punching bags for him to vent his rage on. Hitting me this softly, the punching bags at the gym would probably file for mass resignation. One by one, they were sent flying into the air, forcing their stunned commander to cry out. He's obviously a monster. What the hell is going on here? What are you all still messing around for? A deep, powerful voice echoed. As a large, heavily tattooed figure appeared, the long-haired man cheered with joy. Ah, he's here. The branch manager, the big boss, silently approached. He looked disappointed to see his huge crew of underlings taken down so easily by a single kid. And here he thought all that noise was for something serious. You couldn't even catch one guy, huh? He looked down at the ground where Kay stood alone amidst a sea of defeated men. He surveyed the devastated scene and sarcastically commented on the reputation of his group, the rulers of the city's underworld. Completely shattered now. Useless bunch. Facing Kay's ice-cold gaze, the branch manager silently assessed him. This kid, he's actually strong. He began to limber up, preparing to step in himself. The underling standing nearby taunted smugly, Ha ha, you're so dead now. Just so you know. The boss used to be an A-rank fighter, you know. He was certain that no matter how good Kay was, he couldn't possibly fight a true professional. He sneered, If you had just listened obediently when we were talking nicely, this would all be over. It's too late for regrets now, kid. The fight erupted as the behemoth of a branch manager charged forward like a tornado, but Kay was not one to be outdone. He channeled power into his legs and launched himself straight at his opponent. An earth-shattering collision occurred mid-air, creating a shockwave that shattered the surrounding ground. Kay threw a powerful punch, but the fighter managed to block it in time. He smirked, a confident and arrogant smile spreading across his face. Ha, your skills aren't half bad, huh? Kay stood firm, his razor-sharp eyes intensely focused on his opponent's every move. His stare was so intense that anyone who dared to step between them would have been instantly overwhelmed. The branch manager growled, All right then, it's my turn. Pouring all his strength into his giant tattooed arm, he brought down a punch with the force of 1,000 tons. Kay couldn't dodge in time and was sent flying far away, crashing through several stone walls. Kay struggled to get up from the rubble, clutching his trembling arm as he tried to catch his breath. Without giving Kay a moment to rest, the fighter lunged forward, intending to land the finishing blow. However, Kay quickly sidestepped the attack and unexpectedly closed the distance, placing his mechanical gauntlet-clad hand directly on his opponent's chest. Kay channeled all of his dark energy and activated it. The direct attack left the branch manager stunned and terrified. He panicked, wondering, what is this? A chilling sensation ran down his spine, leaving him completely aghast. He realized that something inside of him seemed to be draining away. The dark energy from Kay's hand was frantically devouring his color and energy. The fighter gritted his teeth and cursed, "Damn it!" before screaming in agony. "Ah!" He glared at Kay, filled with resentment, and roared. "What the hell did you do?" The branch manager sneered sarcastically. "A disgusting black color and these weird tricks? They really suit each other." He declared he would get more serious to see what else Kay was hiding. The ground shattered as he unleashed the color he had suppressed for so many years, transforming his body into a giant covered in rocky armor. The spiky grand transformation was so epic, all it needed was some background music to become a final boss scene. Kay stood silently observing his opponent. He thought to himself with difficulty, controlling this energy is really hard. It's still not enough. He realized his old fighting style was no longer effective. He needed a sharper, more intense weapon to pierce his opponent's stone armor. Kay clenched his mechanical gauntlet. A frantic burst of dark energy erupted, enveloping his body. The branch manager exclaimed in shock, "What?" He began to tremble. It was the first time in his life he had ever felt such an intensely cold, killing intent. He wondered in terror, is this the power of the black color? Behind Kay, countless pitch-black swords and spears suddenly materialized out of thin air. They formed an oppressive, deadly forest of weapons. There were so many it looked like a clearance sale for the entire world's arsenal. Kay's eyes began to glow a brilliant white. He stared at his enemy with a terrifying coldness. The battle in the underground city erupted violently with powerful clashes that shook the very space around them. With his eyes glowing a brilliant white, Kay charged forward to attack, causing the group's branch manager to grit his teeth in frustration. Damn it, what a pain. He saw the forest of black weapons rising from the ground. He cried out in terror, "What the hell kind of power is this?" Kay swung the black sword with immense force, closing in on his enemy with an overwhelming killing intent. With terrifying speed, he swung his blade in an arc that tore through space, aiming straight for his opponent's solid stone armor. Shards of it shattered under the overwhelming power of the black color, leaving the giant barely enough time to cry out in shock. Kay didn't give his opponent a chance to breathe, weaving past his 1,000-ton punches. Then he spun around, landing a heavy blow directly to his chest. Kay's assault was relentless, like a raging storm, his black sword continuously clashing against the enemy's defenses. The branch manager groaned in pain, realizing with a shock what the kid was aiming for. "This little brat? He's only aiming for my head." The chain of attacks came as fast as someone spamming a skill with no cooldown. Though the fighter tried to counter, Kay was simply too agile. He continuously unleashed razor-sharp slashes, causing the stone armor around his head to shatter in large chunks. He trembled as he realized that his proudly enhanced body was being destroyed by Kay with effortless ease. He realized with horror that even though the black swords were fragile, each one was as dangerous as a straw frantically siphoning away his color. In his despair and with his pride shattered, the night manager roared, "Damn it, I'm the manager of the night! I can't possibly lose to this little brat." He channeled all his power, forming a massive stone spike from his arm, and charged ferociously. "A black-colored piece of trash like you dares!" the branch manager roared madly. "I don't care what blank says anymore." He swung his giant fist and yelled, "Die!" A single swing, so devastating just looking at it, was enough to make you want to quit your job forever. A special move called Angle of Destruction erupted, creating a heaven-shaking tremor. The earth shook, flattening the surrounding buildings and leaving a deep crater in the ground. The dust settled. The fighter was stunned when he saw Kai still standing. "What?" He couldn't believe his eyes, seeing his strongest attack completely blocked. You blocked it." The solid stone armor on his arm began to crack and fall apart, crumbling away to its owner's horror. The branch manager was utterly bewildered. What is happening? He realized his energy was being violently sucked into Kai's pitch-black vortex. My color is being absorbed." The tables turned so fast that before he could even process what was happening, he was already being completely erased. He wondered in shock just how many abilities Kai possessed to be able to both create weapons and absorb his opponent's color. Though terrified, he tried to calm himself and strategize. He planned to use his last bit of strength to counterattack, but then he suddenly froze in confusion. Huh? The panicked fighter raised a hand to his face and screamed, "What I can't see!" Taking advantage of his opponent's panic from losing his sight, Kai shot forward with terrifying speed. He delivered a crushing punch straight to the face, sending the giant flying. The branch manager collapsed to the ground, able only to groan in shocked agony. Feeling the strength in his body fade away, he despaired, asking himself why. Am I going to die like this? Is it because he's black-colored? On the verge of death, he gritted his teeth and cursed, "You damned brat, daring to use black like it's some kind of poison." Faced with that fury, Kai just coldly replied with a scornful question. "So what?" The reply was short, but the mental damage was definitely boss level. Kai couldn't be bothered with morals. He snarled, "Why should I fight fair?" saying that he brutally stomped on his enemy, making him cry out in pain. Kai coldly declared, "Now you can't resist while I absorb you, can you?" He grabbed the manager by the neck, violently draining the last of his color, causing him to let out a blood-curdling scream. "Ah!" Witnessing that horrific scene, the subordinate with glasses standing nearby could only tremble in fear. "Ah, my manager has been defeated." He looked at Kai with absolute terror and screamed, "You damn monster!" Amidst the rubble, Kai stood tall, his eyes glowing a stark white, radiating the pressure of a fearsome entity. The manager, now completely colorless, lay motionless like a soulless corpse. The air was so silent that even fear itself seemed to tiptoe. Kai silently walked away, leaving absolute terror behind for the survivors. He glanced back, his face hidden in shadow, exuding a chilling aura that made anyone watching too afraid to even breathe. Meanwhile, in another dark space, Mary slowly woke up with a groan. Ugh. The throbbing pain made her clutch her head, grimacing. My head. Mary looked around in a daze, trying to get her bearings in the empty room where a single light shone down on her. She wondered nervously, Where am I? Under the lone spotlight, Mary had just woken up in the dark room when a mysterious voice spoke. "So you're awake?"
I've been waiting for you.
Mary asked in shock. Who are you?" The stranger casually looked at the file in his hands and mumbled, How interesting. Who would have thought a colorless person would receive so much attention? His casual tone was like someone reading a menu, not talking to a victim. He commented on Kai's case. "His color appeared late, huh? I hear that condition is extremely rare." He continued to scrutinize Kai's photo. "But what's with that expression, it's as if he has feelings?" In his memory, Kai was nothing like a human. Hearing this, Mary trembled as she realized something.
That voice.
Could it be? An image of children being led away in the past flashed in her mind, terrifying her. The man behind the glasses gave a sinister smile. Mary uttered in disbelief. "Blank?" he replied, amused. "So you do remember Mary? Long time no see, eh?" It was indeed Blank, the one holding Kai's file. Mary was stunned, unable to believe her eyes. You didn't die back then," Blank admitted nonchalantly. "Ha, I was close. I thought I was going to be crushed when everything came down." He recalled the moment he was buried under the rubble and thought to himself how lucky he was to survive. "Guess I'm just hard to kill." Blank approached Mary, speaking sarcastically about their unexpected reunion. He confirmed that he remembered everything clearly because Mary and Kai were very special to him. "You were my very first test subjects," seeing the horrified look on Mary's face. Blank gloated that he had now succeeded and been recognized by the boss. He declared proudly, "I am now a strategist of the darkness." Blank excitedly urged Mary, "Don't just stand there, come on over. I have so many things to show you how far my research has progressed." His tone was so eager that if you didn't know better, you'd think he was about to show off a figure collection. Fun, and not a laboratory. A blinding light flashed, revealing a massive lab before Mary's eyes with giant test tubes filled with colored solutions imprisoning human bodies inside. Below, innocent people in chains trembled and cried under the strict supervision of masked guards. Mary stared in horror at the rows of iron cages holding ferocious, snarling monsters with sharp teeth. She trembled, her face drenched in sweat from sheer terror. "Ah, no, I can't believe such a horrible place still exists." A subordinate brought a tray of glowing purple vials and reported, "Lord Blank, these are the last of the extracts." Blank accepted them smugly. "Ah, perfect timing. Let's see how this one turns out." Mary shouted in fury, "Are you trying to do what you did last time?" Lang casually smirked and replied, "Of course I am. It would be a crime not to use something so wonderful." He held the purple vial, his eyes gleaming with madness behind his glasses. "Welcome back, Mary. Welcome to my new extraction system." Suddenly, Kay cried out as he found the bottle of special-grade ink. Fire smoke and terrifying explosions suddenly rocked the entire neighborhood in the dead of night. Amidst the chaos, people fled in panic, their terrified screams piercing the air. "Get out of the way." It was a chaotic scene from an action movie, but sadly there was no director to yell cut. A middle-aged man shouted angrily as he ran, "Damn it! Those thugs are starting trouble again. Hurry, run before we all get dragged into this mess." Meanwhile, Kay emerged menacingly from the smoke and dust, dragging two unconscious enemies by his hands. Coldly, he approached a dark tunnel and interrogated the trembling man before him. "You're the one who said Marine was taken here, right?" The henchman, his face pale with fear, stammered in reply, "Yes. The girl you're looking for is probably inside." He pleaded cowardly, "Can I go now?" "I've done everything you asked." Without a moment's hesitation, Kay swung his arm and knocked him out on the spot. He softly called, "Nero." Immediately, a small black creature popped out from his collar. At a glance, it looked as cute as a pet, but who could have known? Its main function was to lead the way into a fight. Kay said in a low voice, "Show me the way. Where is Marine?" "You can do that, can't you?" Receiving an excited cry in response, he smiled faintly. "Thanks. You're always a great help to me." However, his presence had been discovered. The guards from above shouted, "He's over there! Everyone get over here. Grab him. Let's all get him at once." The aggressive mob, armed with all sorts of crude weapons, charged down the stairs. "I don't have time to waste on small fry like you. If I'm delayed any longer, Marine will be in danger. I just so happen to have prepared a suitable move." Unflinching Kay channeled an immense amount of dark power into his mechanical arm, declaring clearly, "I'll smash my way straight through all of you." He swung his arm, unleashing his ultimate technique, the Annihilator Punch. The punch carried a terrifying power, wiping out every obstacle and creating an explosion that shook the entire underground structure. The guards only had time to scream in despair, "Ah! No way! We have to stop that lunatic at all costs. Somebody please stop this insane monster!" Amidst the rubble, Kay, with his piercing cold eyes, was still charging forward like an arrow. Meanwhile, deep inside the laboratory, "You truly are a complete madman. What in the world are you so crazed about?" Marine gritted her teeth in fury and yelled, "Why do you keep doing these terrible things?" Lang glanced back, feigning surprise. What's the matter, Maureen? Why do you have such an angry look on your face? There's no need to be so threatening." He walked on casually and continued in a sick tone, "Actually, I feel very grateful to all of you. It's thanks to all of you serving as my test subjects that my research has made such a great leap forward today." His grateful tone made you want to thank him back with a punch to the face. Lang pointed towards a giant machine. "Oh, look over there! The extraction process is being carried out right now. It's always better to witness it with your own eyes than to just hear an explanation. Don't you agree?" Nearby, two guards were brutally dragging an elderly man towards the machine chamber. The old man trembled and begged, "No, don't I don't want to die yet," ignoring his pleas. The guard swung his club, hitting the man hard, and shouted, "Shut your mouth and get inside." Amidst his painful screams, he was thrown inside. "Oh, I don't want to go in there. I'm begging you, please spare me. Help me." The iron door slammed shut and the machine began to operate. It emitted clouds of white smoke. A stream of bright red liquid began to flow through a pipe, gradually filling a small glass vial. Witnessing that horrific scene, Marine stood frozen, her heart filled with disgust. "This place hasn't changed at all. It's still just as gloomy and terrifying as I remember." He recalled his previous failures, with those vials of gray solution. "In my first experiment, I was too naive, and as a result, I couldn't extract any color at all. I wasted all the samples taken from your bodies. Remember when I mentioned those who only awakened their powers as adults? I saw the hidden potential within them. So I wondered what would happen if I tried to extract that latent ability. And the result was a success beyond my wildest dreams." Listening to him, it was as if he were presenting a research paper. The only difference was the volunteers were not willing at all. Not just humans, even large mutated creatures became raw material for him. And it's not limited to just humans. I can also extract it from monsters. See how brilliant I am. Who would have thought? To think that such worthless trash could be transformed into such magnificent and wondrous colors. I firmly believe this is their soul, their core essence, and I have the right to extract it and use it in any way I see fit. In fact, I'm doing them a favor. I'm helping them awaken their buried value so it can shine its brightest. Lang smugly held the vial of solution high and declared my extraction ability. Combined with years of relentless research has finally come to perfect fruition, and what you are seeing now is its result. The hybrid seed. He gazed passionately at the swirling purple liquid. Right now, I'm still trying to figure out what other applications it might have. Not long ago, I realized that monsters that emit signals are often drawn to these colors. While I can't control them absolutely, it still has a certain effect. Witnessing his madness, Marine furiously shouted, "You people are a bunch of perverts! You're all completely insane! How can you say such disgusting things with a straight face? Taking living, breathing people and throwing them into that extraction machine just to create this monstrous thing. Do you really think the city government will just let you get away with these atrocities without punishment?" Her anger flared violently, but at her accusations, Lang just gave a sinister smile. "Oh, I expected you'd have such a strong reaction. However, I honestly don't see anything wrong with this at all. It seems my work is too far ahead of its time, so people like you are not intelligent enough to comprehend it. What a pity." Marine couldn't take it anymore. She screamed right in his face, "Shut your filthy mouth! You're nothing but a psychopathic murderer. Soul essence. What kind of nonsense is that? It's ridiculous if you're so obsessed with extracting colors. Why don't you just extract it from your own damn corpse? I bet your color is filthy and disgusting. It's the color of a madman who only knows how to indulge in his own twisted pleasures." A direct, no-holds-barred comeback. No mercy was shown. She said exactly what she felt. Lang's expression suddenly darkened. He asked her, "You really think so?" "Actually, I've already checked, so I know more about it than anyone." Marine was stunned. "What did you say?" Lang slowly removed his glove as he explained, "I regularly perform extractions on my own body. I'm the one who created it. Did you really think I wouldn't test it on myself first? This is the research I've poured my entire life's devotion into. As soon as I achieved success, the very first thing I did was try to extract a part of myself. This kind of testing the product before selling sounds conscientious, but in this case, it just sends a chill down your spine." He revealed his mechanical arm, his left eye glowing with an enchanting purple hue. "Oh, my own color. It's just so magnificent. I'm cherishing it and protecting it with extreme care right now. Who knows? Maybe it will be of some use to me in the future." Marine clutched her head in horror and despair. "Hey, I'm begging you, please just shut your mouth for once. I don't give a damn about your crazy stories. Don't make me listen to another word." Lang burst out laughing with delight. "Haha, I got a little carried away and forgot myself. But we're having a conversation anyway. Would you like to hear more about it? I heard that guy Kay has already set foot in this underground city." Upon hearing Kay's name, Marine's eyes widened in shock. Lang declared smugly, "Just as I predicted. Kidnapping you was the perfect bait to lure him out. The first owner of this color black has revealed himself." He mockingly recalled the past. "Kay always followed you around like a shadow." To him, Marine was the perfect prey to make Kay walk right into his own grave. Lang was confident that even with Kay's special powers, he wouldn't be able to fight against the sheer number of my men waiting to ambush him outside. He ordered his subordinate, "Take her away. We'll meet again when Kay shows up." Marine struggled furiously. "You lunatics, let go of me. Don't you dare touch me." Lang casually turned and walked away to prepare for his esteemed guest, and also to check on the shipment of hybrid seeds about to be delivered to a major client. However, a terrifying sound suddenly shook the entire space. Lang uttered in bewilderment, that deafening sound, that tremor. What in the world was that? Immediately after, the ceiling collapsed, creating a massive explosion. The guards screamed in terror, "Ah, watch out! The ceiling is caving in!" Dust and smoke engulfed the laboratory, much to Lang's astonishment. "What the hell is going on?" From above, a towering dark figure landed amidst the rubble. Marine stared in disbelief as a familiar silhouette appeared through the smoke. Kay appeared in a proud, defiant posture, his sharp gaze fixed on his enemy. A classic hero entrance. Even without an introduction, everyone knows who the center of attention is. Marine burst with joy. She cried out his name. Kay, at the High Council counselor, HSS slammed the table in anger, shouting, What is that high-priority management subject doing? Camellia urgently reported on the emergency. He's gone down to the underground city and is currently engaging the Shadow Organization to rescue his captured friend based on reports from the surveillance team. K has already swept through and flattened multiple enemy sectors. Haxon immediately turned to reprimand Camellia for letting the situation get out of hand, but she was quick to explain. She explained that she had assigned people to keep a close watch and had not been negligent in the slightest. She explained that their forces were currently spread thin due to unusual phenomena on the outskirts, making it incredibly difficult to dispatch reinforcements from other divisions. The situation is a complete mess. From resource extraction to city defense, our manpower is already stretched critically thin. When Hussein asked about Red's whereabouts, Camellia confirmed that he was also confronting Collector 10 and the Butcher at another stronghold. Haxon gritted his teeth, realizing the Black Hands were behind all of this, and ordered the mobilization of the security team to protect Kay immediately. However, another councilman with a monocle spoke up, objecting, arguing that hastily sending troops into the underground city would provoke the criminal gangs and make the situation worse. He warned that the power of the renegades, including the color alchemists, was not to be underestimated, and a war breaking out now would plunge the entire city into chaos. This councilman also expressed his deep suspicion of Kay, the wielder of that dangerous shadow power. He argued that his initial assessment of Kay as a threat was correct, and he shuddered to think of the disasters the boy could cause in the future. To put it bluntly, in his eyes, Kay wasn't an asset but a walking time bomb. He even insidiously suggested that this was a perfect opportunity to eliminate this dangerous element entirely, by simply standing aside and watching. Amidst Camellia's tense silence, Haxon stood firm, insisting that the security team must intervene. He stressed that Kay is the only one who can break the barrier and the council must protect him regardless of the risk. We must trust the potential that Lady Luminous saw in him. Haxon declared that he would take full responsibility and act on his own judgment to gamble on the future that Kay could create. The monocled councilman looked at Haxon disdainfully and sneered. I was impressed that you managed to secure a council seat with such a mediocre color, but I never imagined your judgment would be so terrible. What a shame. Haxon remained composed, replying with a veiled tone, Indeed, it is a shame. I will work harder to meet those expectations of yours. Not wanting to argue further, the other councilman stood up, grabbed his cane, and left. I'll be taking my leave. What a waste of time. He left, but the tension in the air was palpable. With him gone, the drama lingered. Camellia, sitting opposite Haxon, spoke softly. You're worrying far too much, sir. I suppose I'll have to help you put those worries to rest. She declared that she and the security team would also mobilize members of the Red Team, all of whom greatly distinguished themselves during the first expedition. Camellia asked confidently, Is that strategy enough to ease your worries, Councilman? After a moment of consideration, Haxon finally agreed. All right, make sure this doesn't affect the city. You have to handle it cleanly. Cutting back to the scene of destruction, Marine joyfully cried out, Kay! Blanca was frozen in place, unable to believe his eyes. How did he get past all of my subordinates? To get here. Wait, this is bad. Meanwhile, Kay's expression remained cold, his eyes burning with killing intent. He thought to himself, Marie's safety comes first. I'll end this quickly. Ding dong beasts! Before they can even react. Instantly, Kay channeled power into his mechanical arm, its sharp claws extending. He unleashed black arms, a powerful wave of dark energy that swept through everything. Blanca could only cry out in horror, Ah! The surrounding guards were sent flying, letting out cries of pain. The sweep was so clean it looked like he was taking out the trash combat style. The immense force of the attack shattered the containment pods, spilling experimental fluid all over the floor. But he didn't stop there. Kay shot forward like a bolt of black lightning. At an incredible speed, he dove down from above like a whirlwind, taking out 2 guards in an instant. To their astonishment, he landed protectively in front of Marine amidst the wreckage. Just by standing there, he was like an impenetrable fortress. Marine gazed at his back, her eyes filled with hope, and whispered, Kay. He glanced back at her and spoke in a low voice. Sorry I'm late. He asked gently, You've been waiting long, haven't you? Just then, Nero leaped down from above into Marine's arms, startling her. Nero! She cried out. Cradling the small creature, Marine smiled radiantly, tears welling in her eyes. I'm sorry for making you both worry. Thank you for coming for me. While Kay's expression remained serious, a loud shout echoed from afar. "Hurry, run! Take advantage of the chaos now that the guards are down!" The other prisoners shouted to one another, fleeing through the large door. This was their chance to escape, watching from a distance. Blanca clicked his tongue in annoyance as he watched his test subjects escape. "Ha! Damn it! So they're all escaping!" He glanced at his equipment and consoled himself. "I still have plenty of unfinished experiments anyway. But it doesn't really matter. I just need to gather new materials." He turned to Kay with his characteristic twisted smile. "Kay, so good to see you again. When I heard you had received that color, I was so looking forward to this meeting. Ha ha ha, to think you survived with that color. Such a rare specimen. Meeting you in person like this? It's even more exhilarating. I knew just from the rumors that you were something special, more like an obsessed fan than an enemy." Blang licked his lips with desire as he stared at Kay. "I wonder, if I extract your essence, just how brilliantly will it shine?" Kay watched him in silence, his eyes cold and filled with contempt. Who is this guy? He looks familiar. Just some talkative villain. Seriously, who the hell is this? It was then that his companion had to remind Kay who he was, Blang, the one who had recklessly drained their blood before. Blang Kay stared into the man's crazed eyes, a sliver of doubt in his mind. "He's still alive. After all that wreckage," Blang replied casually, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "How rude. Of course I'm still alive and kicking." He held up vials filled with brilliant, colorful essences and declared, "That's enough for a reunion greeting. We have something to discuss after all." Who would dare accept a gift like this? Blang flashed a grotesque smile and suddenly threw the vials at his opponent. "Here, a present for you." The vials shattered at Kay's feet, startling him. "What the?" Realizing the danger, Marine immediately shouted a warning. "Kay, be careful! What he just threw is a lure for the beasts!" Kay's expression changed at the warning. In the distance, Blang stood nonchalantly by a control panel. He admitted smugly, "That's right. I've never liked getting my own hands dirty." He glanced towards the rows of iron cages and continued, "Those beasts aren't strong enough to subdue you, but they should be enough to wear you out, don't you think?" With that, Blang decisively pulled a lever. "It's feeding time." Maniacal roars echoed as countless iron gates swung open, unleashing a horde of starving, ferocious monsters. They charged madly towards Kay like a dark tidal wave. Faced with danger, Kay immediately channeled the power of darkness into his mechanical arm, preparing for the fight. He lunged into the middle of the pack, swinging his blade in powerful, sweeping strikes. The darkness felled swaths of mutated creatures in the blink of an eye. He was taking on the whole server by himself. The newly spawned monsters barely had time to contemplate their existence before they were cut down. Looking at the fallen bodies of the beasts, Blang clicked his tongue softly. "Tisk, tisk, that's no good, Kay. How could you waste such precious specimens?" He observed the battle while mumbling about his insane theory. "Normally, after a power is used, its color evaporates. But in my hands, things are different." He immediately activated his special ability, extracting a stream of black energy from Kay's slashes, which was sucked back into the glass vial in Blang's hand. He laughed with delight. "Ha ha ha, the color black!" His eyes lit up as if he'd just looted a rare item. All that was missing was the word legendary popping up. He gazed at the viscous liquid in his hand. He mumbled ambitiously, "Finally, I have it. I wonder how it differs from other shades of black." But the mad doctor's greed was far from satisfied. He stared intently at the vial, then clicked his tongue. "Ah, I need a little more. This isn't enough." Blang's eyes gleamed with an excited purple light as he roared out a challenge. "Kay, I really want to see what your power is truly capable of." Below, Kay was still fighting frantically, surrounded by monsters, while Marine could only watch in extreme anxiety, witnessing how hard Kay was struggling to fend them off. "This is bad," Marine uttered worriedly. She realized that normally Kay could handle situations like this with ease, but now he couldn't. Marine secretly guessed he must have used a lot of color on the way here, so now he's overloaded. She knew that if Kay could absorb the monster's color, he could recover instantly, but first she had to find a way to create an opening. Suddenly, Marine saw the mixed ink spilling across the floor and wondered, that mixed ink on the floor? She suddenly remembered that thanks to Kay's power, this liquid had flooded the entire area. Marine's gaze became resolute. "I have to use this." Her brain pinged and a plan formed instantly. It was as if the crisis had flipped on her genius switch. She quickly used a tool to interfere with the machinery, then pulled two large cables apart with all her might. As a strong electrical current began to arc between her hands, she shouted a warning, "Kay, watch the floor!" Instantly, Marine sent the powerful current down into the layer of liquid at her feet, creating a terrifying electrical discharge that swept across the room. The current traveled through the fluid at lightning speed. The monsters had no time to react and were violently electrocuted. Marine gritted her teeth, determined to roast them all crisp. You could almost smell the monster BBQ wafting through the room. In a flash, the entire horde of ferocious beasts was defeated, leaving Kay standing steady in the middle of the scene with sparks still flickering around him, watching his precious monsters fall. Blang couldn't help but click his tongue in disappointment. My beasts, they're all dead. Seizing the moment while the enemy was distracted, Marine immediately yelled, "Kay, now's your chance!" Without wasting another second, Kay instantly shot forward. He channeled his ultimate power into his mechanical arm, causing the joints to begin moving and radiate a thick black energy. A viscous, dark aura exploded violently from Kay's body, forming a black tornado aimed straight at Blang. Witnessing that terrifying power, the Mad Doctor wasn't afraid at all. On the contrary, he seemed ecstatic. Whoa. His eyes were glued to the surge of energy, and he stammered in utter amazement. So that's the power of the color black, huh? Seeing it with my own eyes, it really is the pinnacle. He pointed at Kai, his voice trembling with glee. So all those monsters were just appetizers for you, huh? Lang, completely lost in his own madness, declared his ambition to capture and turn all his enemies into his personal possessions. This is the ideal I have always longed for. He moved closer, staring at Kai with a maddeningly covetous gaze. This man, even just one of his arms. No, a single finger would be enough. Could you perhaps share one half with me? Lang's face was cloaked in shadow, leaving only a single eerie purple eye glowing. I want to study that pure black, to see just how magnificent it truly is. In response to that sick, twisted rambling, Kai shot forward like a phantom, coldly asking, "Are you done barking?" He closed the distance with unbelievable speed, unleashing a powerful slash of dark energy. Yet despite taking the hit, Lang simply flashed a sinister smile. A real shame. I'm quite used to these little disagreements during the research process. I suppose I'll have to accept it. Lang retreated to a safe distance, nonchalantly explaining, "I'll have to decline a direct confrontation. My extractions aren't the type of power meant for a brawling, and for that reason I came prepared." He pulled out 2 shimmering vials, one green and one purple, labeled Emergency Use Mixture. Lang decisively slammed both vials into the device, on his mechanical arm, letting the fluids flow into his system. The moment the solution was injected, a torrent of dark purple energy named corrosion began to envelop the arm. The effect was instantaneous and obvious, a blatant power-up he didn't even try to hide. From a distance, Lang grinned triumphantly and called out, "You know, we're very much alike. The way you covet and steal the colors of others, it's exactly like me."
I understand you perfectly, don't I?
The two clashed in a fiery melee, their powerful impacts creating blinding flashes of light and sending tremors throughout the entire laboratory. Amid the violent shockwaves, Lang continued his perverse rambling. "Listen here, Kai, we may be at each other's throats right now, but fundamentally we're a perfect match. Won't you join me? Trying to recruit someone in the middle of a life-or-death battle. Part-time combat, part-time HR." He frantically tried to persuade Kai to join him. "Only you can recognize the true value of my research. Don't you want to learn more about the miracle of color? Or better yet, their true essence?" Parrying Kai's lightning-fast strikes, Lang roared in excitement. "Your power of absorption combined with my research into extraction will allow us to achieve it. Ha ha! It's the ideal ability I've always dreamed of. Unlike me, you can absorb every shade from your opponent and perceive them in their purest form. It sounds magnificent, but in the end, it just means, let me have some of that power." Lang's eyes burned with absolute greed as he stared at Kai. "What does it feel like absorbing the color of another? What is that sensation like? I truly envy you." "Share a little with me, your color, just a taste," he roared, completely unhinged. "Give it to me!" Lang lunged at Kai like a ravenous beast. He aimed straight for the source of that thick black power, but an explosion of green light instantly stopped him in his tracks. The smile on Lang's face vanished. Stunned, he stammered in disbelief as Kai unleashed his black screen technique. A powerful burst of green energy erupted, enveloping his own mechanical arm. At this sudden transformation, Even Kai was taken aback, wondering to himself, what is this now? The force of the attack created a terrifying aftershock, leaving Lang severely injured. Amidst the rubble, the mad doctor coughed miserably, his breathing ragged. Yet even in such a pathetic state, Lang couldn't hide his admiration. Ha! Cough. This was beyond my calculations. Truly magnificent. Beaten half to death and still dishing out compliments. Certified Stan. He stared at Kai, amazed at his ability to so naturally absorb color in the middle of a fight. Lang realized that it didn't matter. What kind of colors he prepared? Kai would just absorb them all. Faced with an opponent who possessed a similar ability but on a completely different level, Lang began to feel a sense of dread. You're too much. At this rate, I can't possibly defeat you. Cornered, he decided to play his final trump card. If it's come to this, then I have no choice but to use this. Lang shakily pulled out a vial of a thick black liquid. Noticing his opponent's strange move, Kai was immediately on guard. He demanded with an ice-cold stare, "What do you think you're doing? Are you tired of living?" Lang burst out into manic laughter, insisting he had no desire to die. He was simply collecting data for his research. He decisively slammed the vial of first prime black extract into his mechanical arm, declaring that he couldn't possibly waste something so precious on anyone else. Ignoring the risk to his own life, Lang roared with insane fervor, "And what if I die?" "It's worth the risk." Immediately, a violent burst of dark energy erupted, engulfing his body, creating a horrifying scene. Blank looked ecstatic as he witnessed the fusion process. "The fusion is a success. Oh, whoa, that's it? All right, haha, I knew I could do it." A stream of black fluid flowed from his left eye, proof of the terrifying power he had just absorbed. Blank trembled with delight. Just a sliver of true color can grant such incredible power. His arm had now completely mutated, covered in a mass of sharp, dark energy. Gazing at his own transformation, the mad doctor laughed heartily. "Ha ha, this is incredible!" He looked up at Kay, his eyes glowing menacingly, and issued a warning. "Be careful now!" Lang roared maniacally, saying that even he himself can no longer control this power. It's like chugging a potion and only then realizing there's no user manual. What a clash. An explosion of fire erupted in mid-air, creating horrifying shockwaves that tore through the laboratory. Lang, laughing, exclaimed excitedly, "Ha ha! You only realize how awesome this is after you use it. So this is your color?" His current state was like getting beaten up while leaving a 5-star product review. He frantically tried to persuade Kay, "Think about it. Do you really not want to work with me? Our meeting was fate." "Don't you want to know the secret of your own color?" Kay coldly shot back. "Cut the crap. Don't think everyone is as low as you. We're not the same." Lang continued to jeer. "Ha ha, what are you talking about? We have so much in common. Don't tell me you're refusing because of Marine, are you?" Kay's eyes hardened with contempt. He thought to himself about the unique identity that a parasite like Blank, who only lived off the colors of others, could never possess. Lang continued his taunts in a sickening tone. "I know you so well. That rotten hollowness. That's your true nature. Don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing you. On the contrary, I quite like it." He dug into the past, claiming Kay had always craved and desired to steal the colors of others to achieve his current form. Lang asserted, "You're just someone who does whatever it takes to get what he wants. At least that's how I see it." He even feigned sympathy, believing he was one of the few who acknowledged Kay no matter what form he took. Just as Blank was lost in his speech, a wrench suddenly flew through the air, smacking him right in the head. Blank staggered, crying out in pain. "Ouch, what the—" From above, Marine appeared, hammer in hand. She roared in fury, "You bastard! I can't listen to your nonsense anymore." "What the hell gives you the right to act like you understand, Kay? You only met him a few times when you were kids, and you act like you're close." Marine furiously shouted right in Blank's face, "What do you mean, in common? You lunatic, a pervert like you who sees people as nothing but material dares to compare yourself to anyone." She declared firmly, "Kay is just Kay. He doesn't imitate anyone." Kay is always trying to better himself. Marine gritted her teeth, her eyes blazing with fury. "If you don't know how hard Kay has struggled, then shut your damn mouth." Memories of their childhood surfaced when Kay was a smiling boy by her side. Marine choked up. He was just a little different, that's all. He's completely normal. And here she is, inserting a flashback in the middle of a battlefield. Unable to hold back any longer, she screamed, "Who the hell do you think you are to judge him?" Marine swung her hammer and hurled a series of wrenches at Blank to vent her anger. Don't you dare insult Kay, you bastard, you piece of trash, you sicko, you cold-blooded murderer. Standing behind them, Kay watched Marine stunned. His expression shifted slightly at her fierce defense of him. Kay gave a small, meaningful smile, then suddenly closed the distance. He grabbed Blank tightly, leaving him stunned. A terrifying burst of dark energy exploded outwards, sending everything flying. Blank cried out in shock, "Huh!" Witnessing this sudden surge of power. The Mad Doctor trembled with both fear and excitement. Oh, how wonderful, he can still increase his power output. Through the thick black smoke, Kay softly called out, "Marine?" Then he gave her a gentle smile. "Thank you." Immediately, Kay lunged forward at an incredible speed, delivering a devastating punch that slammed right into Blank. The blow was so powerful it sent him flying before he could even react. Lang realized in horror that his body had reached its limit. "No, I've exceeded my body's tolerance," he whispered in despair. "Ah, Kay, so you really are." Kay stood tall like a god of death, radiating a murderous aura that engulfed his enemy. He gathered all his strength. He brought down a fatal blow from above. If this attack had a health bar, it would have gone straight into the negatives. Without a doubt, an earth-shattering explosion rang out as Kay smashed Lang's body into the ground, creating a giant crater and sending cracks spreading across the laboratory. That destructive power would make anyone who witnessed it shudder in awe. Truly incredible. The dust and smoke slowly cleared, revealing Kay standing tall amidst the ruins. Marine rushed over, anxiously calling his name. "Kay." She looked him over from head to toe and asked, "Are you okay?" Kay nodded slightly, calmly replying, "Yeah, not a scratch." They both looked down at the Mad Doctor lying motionless at their feet. Marine, still in disbelief, asked again, just to be sure, "Lang probably can't get up anymore, huh?" Kay coldly observed his enemy, who was no longer able to resist. "I'm sure he's just barely hanging on." He silently resolved, "I will end this ill-fated connection with him right here," facing his dying enemy. Kay tightened his grip on his weapon, telling himself, "I absolutely cannot leave any loose ends. If I let him live, he'll just keep pulling the same old tricks." The lesson learned from this boss fight is you can't let them respawn. But even though he was severely injured, Lang still struggled to his feet, letting out broken laughs. He looked at Kay with eerily glowing eyes and admitted, "As I thought, I can't defeat you with this patched-together power." "Is that so? What a shame." His face was disfigured by his wounds, but his sick smile never faded. "If I had more of your colors, I wonder how things would have turned out." "To obtain your colors, I will stop at nothing." Immediately, earth-shattering explosions suddenly rocked the entire laboratory. Fire erupted and debris flew everywhere. Kay and Marine were completely shocked. Amidst the collapsing rubble, Kay quickly rushed to shield Marine from the falling rocks. Marine only had time to scream in panic. "Ah," Lang's sinister voice echoed throughout the space. "I've already planted explosive color inks all over the extraction room." He continued to laugh triumphantly amidst the chaos. "Communication with the organization has been cut off, and now there's this mess. They've definitely activated the switch upstairs to destroy all the evidence. All over the underground base, a series of explosions went off, blowing away everything in their path." Lang screamed maniacally, "Whatever this is my last chance anyway. There's nothing I wouldn't dare to do." The floor beneath Kay and Marine's feet suddenly collapsed, sending them both plunging into a deep abyss in utter shock, free-falling amidst the crumbling pillars. Kay reached out into the void and shouted the name of his little friend, Nero. Kay plunged into a pool of black liquid in the dark space of the tunnel. He struggled to the surface, gasping for air in terror. Staring at the viscous liquid surrounding him, Kay was stunned, wondering, a pool of black ink? Why is something like this in the basement? He was horrified as he realized the terrible truth. Could it be waste from the extraction room leaked and collected down here? Extreme anxiety showed on his face as he cried out, "If that's the case, then Marine—" At that moment, he couldn't think of himself anymore. There was only one name on his mind. Immediately, Marine's figure appeared amidst the black ink. She was struggling desperately, her face smeared with ink. Marine sobbed his name in broken breaths. Kay roared in anguish, "Marine!" He tried to rush to save her, but everything happened too fast. Marine slowly sank into the deep bottom. Kay screamed in desperation. No, only air bubbles remained rising to the surface. Marine had completely disappeared beneath the pitch-black water. Without a moment's hesitation, Kay dove into the deep abyss to search for her. At the bottom of the dark abyss, Marine's body emitted a faint white light as she sank deeper into the void. Kay urged himself, "Hurry! I have to be faster." A crazy idea occurred to him. I have to absorb all the ink here right now. But then he stopped realizing the harsh reality. No, that would take too much time. Marine will die in the meantime. Kay's eyes showed clear panic as he saw his arm still couldn't reach her. If I can't touch Marine directly, in the enveloping darkness, a bitter thought surfaced. Is it already too late? The moment we fell into the ink, I knew I wouldn't be able to save her. The worst moment is when you start to doubt your own hope. A barrage of questions echoed in his mind. Then why do you want to take colors? Isn't it for that beautiful light? Kay stared intently at the small speck of light fading at the bottom of the abyss. He understood that if he gave up on that light now, he would never see it again. Kay's eyes widened, filled with determination and the fear of losing the most important person to him. Would that be okay? The self-questioning echoed in his mind as Kay stood on the brink of despair. No. He reached his mechanical arm toward the free-falling figure, roaring in fury. Once was more than enough. Kay gritted his teeth, pouring all his will into his actions. I absolutely will not give up. Beautiful childhood memories suddenly flooded back images of two children studying together. A map under the flickering light of an oil lamp, or the happy moments of playfully pulling each other's cheeks appeared as clear as day, like a dose of medicine giving him strength. Kay shot down into the deep abyss like a black arrow. Amidst a chaotic swirl of energy, his mechanical arm reached out and grabbed Marine's small hand just before she was swallowed by the darkness, pulling her into a tight embrace in the middle of the fierce vortex. Kay pleaded in desperation, "Don't die, I'm begging you." He roared, his voice breaking with pain. "You said you'd watch over me until I became a colorist." In that life-or-death moment, Marine's warm words from that day echoed in his mind once more. I believe we all have our own light and colors inside. You do too. It's not that you can't feel them. You just don't know how yet. Her words were meant to be healing, but hearing them again now, the pain in his heart doubled. The image of a young Marine smiling brightly and encouraging him. Just learn little by little. I'll help you.
So just do what you want,
Kay murmured to himself. These words were just like Lumien's, and that's why he had always etched them into his soul. Marie, you were right. He remembered their arduous journey after leaving the underground city. Even though they faced endless prejudice and oppression, it was she who helped him realize that most of the people they met all carried their own unique light and color. If I had been alone, I never would have known any of this, Kay thought, reminiscing about the days he spent with her, toiling away at Marie's workshop. Without her by his side, he would have surely been lost forever in a feeling of absolute emptiness, never knowing the taste of happiness, or what joy even was. But now, he had finally and completely understood the truth of his life. I get it now, but the price for this understanding is a little too painful. If Lumien was the one who showed me the way, then you are the reason I continue to press forward. Kay gazed deeply into the face of the girl. He had sworn to protect his steadfast gaze, holding a promise to never let her go. So please, just wake up. Back in the cruel reality, he held Marie tightly. He screamed in despair into the gloomy space. But you promised me back then. An image of two children holding hands walking toward a distant light only intensified the pain. Kay looked on in shock at the girl in his arms, his voice trembling as he called out, Marie! He froze as he realized a horrifying truth. She wasn't breathing anymore. His mind went blank for a few seconds, his heart refusing to accept such a quick game over. Kay's face contorted with shock and regret. He tormented himself. Why, I already absorbed all the blackness. How could this happen? In his deepest moment of despair, a strange speck of light suddenly flared from Marie's chest, startling Kay. He recognized the familiar light and thought to himself, could this be the inner power she talked about? An image of Marie smiling brightly, a glow emanating from her heart, flashed in his mind, spurring Kay to resolve at any cost to release this light. Kay pushed his fear aside and encouraged himself. It's okay. I can do this. He gripped Marie's cold hand tightly, pouring all his focus into his actions. I'll just do what I've always done. I can definitely save her. A meteor-like torrent of light erupted violently. It burst from Marie's body, enveloping them both. Kay was stunned as he felt an unfamiliar energy surging. What is this? This is the first time I've ever felt anything like this. It's completely different from when I absorb colors. Amidst the brilliant aura, he began to understand the familiar light and colors. Ah, so that's it. Kay realized this was the purest kind of power slumbering deep within his friend's soul. This was the potential hidden within Marie, a series of positive emotions like joy, happiness, warmth, liveliness, and hope manifested, crystallizing into a dazzling beam of light that tore through the darkness. Kay was moved, having finally reached her true essence. This is the light that Marie has always possessed. He gave a slight nod as if to confirm his belief. That's right. It's because it's Marie that this light is so brilliant. Amidst the radiant golden light covering her body, Marie suddenly awoke, her eyes ablaze with a golden color. Witnessing this miraculous change, Kay couldn't help but be astonished, thinking, it's so radiant and clear. He quickly called out, Marie, seeing that she was out of critical danger. Kay breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness, you're awake. Marie was still bewildered. She raised a hand to her neck and asked herself, what is this? I'm sure I fell into that pool of black ink. How am I? But then she froze as she looked down at her own hands. Huh! Marie screamed in terror upon seeing the changes to her body. What is this, Kay? Why am I this color? She frantically grabbed her hair, which had turned a brilliant yellow. Kay quickly reassured her. Marie, it's okay. Just calm down. How do you feel? Does anything feel wrong? Still trembling, Marie replied, I'm okay. Looking around at the rubble, Kay said in a low voice. I know this must be confusing, but we need to get out of here first. Suddenly, a section of the wall above them came crashing down, putting both of them on alert. Through the cloud of dust, Nero appeared on a high ledge. Marie and Kay called out happily, Nero! Right above them, an unfamiliar young man appeared. He let out a sigh of relief. Phew. I heard it was an emergency, so I rushed right over. Looks like you're both okay. Standing next to him was Camellia. She asked casually, what's going on? The young man looked down at Kay and Marie, then urged them, hurry up and get up here. And that's all for this video. Please hit the like button so Gao can bring you more great series. Thanks for watching, and goodbye, everyone.